Hi everyone, welcome to the 8th episode of the Zicast. As always, I'm your host, Ryan Ziaks, and today I'm joined by two loyal fans, Jennifer Moglia and Connor Youngberg. Say hi, guys.
Hey!
Hello, hello.
Thank you for having us.
I stole your WQQ thing.
I do say hello whenever I start my radio show. I don't know why. Just kind of happened.
Staying in character.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And I'd also like to shout out Casey McNichol for her continued support and for making sure that our operation is running smoothly. And just to remind everyone what this podcast is about, I have my friends on and get to know them on a deeper level because everyone's more interesting than they think they are, and of course, everyone has a story. So kind of with that all said, how about we get into things? And I'd like to ask you guys just to tell us a bit about yourselves.
Well, I can go first. My name's Jen. I am in my third year at Quinnipiac. I'm in the School of Communications. I'm a media studies and communications major in the 3+1 program. I have a double minor in women and gender studies and sports studies. I'm getting my master's in public relations. I really like sports. I really like wrestling. I really like music. I work part-time at Universal Music Group. And I really like Pink. I realize if people are watching the video, they'll know that. But it's an important part of my character.
There you go. So I'm Connor. I'm also in my third year at Quinnipiac. I'm a journalism major who despises journalism entirely. Doing my master's program next year in public relations as well. Currently, I'm an intern at Slam Magazine, doing graphic design, which has kind of been my passion here at college. So yeah, love sports, love comic books, love wrestling. That's the gist of it. Yeah.
Awesome. I'd like to just really get into things now, and I like to always begin at the start. And I like to ask you guys how you both met and when you both knew that you found someone special.
I love telling this story. I have so much fun. You look like you don't want to hear a story again.
No, you tell the story.
Yeah, I mean, Connor and I were in the same Com 101 class freshman year. And I had a few failed little crushes my first semester of college, and I was like, I'm over it. I hate boys. They're awful. And then one night I was with one of my friends, Julia Morelli. We all know her. And I was like, I'm going to DM this kid from our Com 101 class because I think he's cute. And this was 2021. So, like, we were all masked up in class. So I low-key did not even know what he looked like. So this was, like, faith. And I DM'd him on Instagram at 2 o'clock in the morning. And I was like, hi, I think you're handsome. We should hang out. That was like probably close to that word for word. And he saw it the next morning and he was like, oh my God, this is the best thing I've ever read. I would love to hang out. And then I had class all day, so I didn't respond. And he told me like later that he was like, why would she do that? I can't believe her. She's ghosting me.
Yeah, I have a private Twitter, and I've had it since high school, where it's like literally like 20 of my closest friends and my inner thoughts. And I remember I tweeted out like, guys, look, no way this happened to me. And then like hours later, I was like, why would she do this? Why would she just ghost me like this? Literally
going through like the
whole day.
stages of grief.
Legit.
But then I responded after my class. And then
I deleted my tweet.
Yes. And then I invited him over to play Jackbox games with me and my friends a few times. And then we hung out, just the two of us. It was a Tuesday because I remember he had the Chronicle meeting. But
Hold on. I'll tell this little bit of the story.
Okay.
So
okay.
We were hanging out and we were just like literally just talking. Like we talked about our niche interests. Like she gave me the FNAF lore and I
love Five Nights
I
at
yapped
Freddy's.
about Donald Glover for like hours. And then I said I had to go for Cron, and then I thought about it. I was like, no, I'm enjoying the conversation. I'll just skip Cron one night, right? Well, after I had left, I was like, it's like 10:40. Cron meetings are like 45 minutes, and they started 9:15.
Yeah.
So for some reason, I texted the guys like, is Cron still by chance happening? And they're like, oh yeah, go over here. Come here for the end of the meeting. I didn't clock any of that. So I walk over to the room, and I'm like, guys, can someone let me into the building? And then I just hear them yelling from the distance, like, there's no way you actually showed up to CCE. So I remember that. That was really funny because I was just, I don't know, I was so out of it, like, just had a great conversation.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I've
I
never
showed
been
it to
able to
Cece.
just like sit and talk with somebody for like 4 hours like
Yeah.
that. And we smooched and we dated and we're here 2 years later
On the Zicast.
on the
On the
Zicast.
Zicast.
It's crazy. It's crazy. Whenever I tell people we've been together for 2 years, we talk about this a lot, that it feels like it's gone by so fast. Like, I do kind of feel like we just met, but also because we know each other so well. And like I always say in college, you like speed run dating because you're like with each other all the time. Like, you practically live with each other. He lives 2 floors down from me, so we're with each other all the time. So it does kind of feel like we've known each other forever, but also kind of feels like we just met each other. So it's crazy, but I think it's very cool to just have somebody at college you can always hang out with and rely on. And
The best way to describe it is like, it feels like that conversation I just talked about happened yesterday, but I also can't remember what life was like without her. So
Aw.
it's a weird little like, it's felt like such a short amount of time, but also such a long amount of time.
That's so sweet. Yeah, and I mean, I think that we kind of like clicked immediately, and we just like never stopped hanging out. Like, we hung out for the first time like the week we got back from Thanksgiving break, and then we were just like inseparable until winter break. And then over winter break we would like watch movies on FaceTime every night, and we got back from winter break and it just felt like so natural, and I still feel the same way today. Crazy.
Not even a little bit more.
Crazy.
Sorry.
Oh my god, you knew what I meant. You knew what I meant.
I'm
Trying
just
to
joshing.
I'm trying to be nice. But yeah, so it's been a fun time.
That story was even sweeter than I expected it to be.
Yeah. I listen, shoot your shot. And
I was gonna
Yeah.
say, I respect the boldness.
this is where it gets you.
too.
I was gonna say, because with all due respect to you, I'm one of those people that like, so definitely brought me out of my shell a little bit. Freshman year, like fall me, completely different human being. Like, I wouldn't have said a word. Like, I would have like been like, oh, she's really cute, and then been like, yeah, she'll never talk to me. So I would have moved on with my life. So thankfully you shot the shot and didn't leave it up to me, because
Average male experience.
you would have been waiting a while.
I did it,
You did it.
and now we're here.
There you go.
That does feel very Jen.
Yeah.
To be the one to.
I'm not scared. I mean, what's the worst that could have happened? I was also in the weeks leading up to it, I was like sliding up on his Instagram stories to try to get him to talk to me.
Oh,
Wow.
yeah. Hold on. Okay. I'm listening. Silk Sonic just came out, so naturally I put it on my story. Fantastic album. Like, just a 10 out of 10 perfect album. And she swipes up and goes like, "Should I listen to this album?" And I was like, "Yes. Listen to this album. Listen to Taylor Swift like one more time, then listen to this album. It is fantastic." And she's like, "Okay, well, never. It's been 2 years."
You
It's been
played
2 years.
you played it for me recently because you were seeking vengeance.
Because I'm fed up.
Yeah. But I would like,
Great
or like
album.
he would post his Chronicle articles, and I'd be like, "Oh my god, this was so good,"
Even though they were so bad.
and he was just not getting the hint. So the DM in discussion was a few weeks in the making. It was brewing a little bit. It was cooking up in there.
My bad, but also you didn't listen to Silk Sonic. So,
Yeah, my bad.
in conclusion, listen to Silk Sonic.
Okay, thanks for that.
Wow.
So silly.
The music riz was effective.
I listen. I tried. I think I literally put on my close friends story, "Why don't men understand that responding to Instagram stories is a form of flirting?" And people
Wow.
were like, "Oh my god, you're so right." And I was like, "Yeah, I know."
Wow.
We're truly living in modern times.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, there you go. There you go.
That's it.
But of course, what you guys have done, something really special you guys have done together is your work with WQAQ.
Yeah.
So do you guys mind kind of explaining what that is and telling any fun stories?
For sure.
I'll let GM Jem handle that one.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm the general manager of the station. I was officially elected into my position in April 2023. I was the music manager last fall, and then the programming manager last spring. So I've moved up a little bit. But yeah, WQAQ is the student-run radio station here. A lot of people do music and sports-based shows. Is pretty much like the typical thing that people do. But WQAQ is one of the first orgs that I joined freshman year from like the engagement fair. I like got trained on all the equipment before like the engagement fair even happened. Like I sent an email like August 25th, like let me in. And I do my own show, which is called Strawberry Skies. That name was like a blog that I came up with when I was in high school, and I just liked the name, so I continued to use it. And I would just play like my favorite songs that came out like that week or the past few weeks, and I would do like themed weeks. Like for my birthday, I always just play like some of my personal favorite songs. Valentine's Day, I always do like a love song themed episode. I did like my 10 favorite songs that turned 10 in 2023 last year, and I really like that, so I'll probably do that again for 2024. But I loved it because I just got like an hour to myself during the week, because I mean, college in general is so chaotic, but freshman year especially, like we were talking about this in the car on the way over, like when you first get here, it's just so overwhelming and so chaotic. So like to have that time to just like, okay, it's an hour, I get to play whatever music I want and just have fun, be by myself. I loved it, and I won best show of the semester my first semester with WQAQ, and I was like, wow, maybe I'm actually doing a good job with this. And as music manager, I got to really build up our system of covering live concerts and like build relationships with venues in the area, which has been really awesome. And I just really love it. I love the community and the environment. I think my e-board and I have done a really good job of, you know, cultivating this vibe and this feeling around it. That's not just like, okay, we all do radio shows. Like people actually like have friends at the station and hang out there, which is cool. So I absolutely love it. He was on Strawberry Skies spring of my freshman year. I like had a bunch of guests on in the spring, and he liked it, and he was like, maybe I'll start my own show.
Yeah.
And
The freshman year,
he did.
I had signed up for to do a show, or like I at least was interested after the involvement fair, and I wanted to do it, and then I kept getting the training emails, and I was like, what is training? I don't want to do training. Like, am I gonna have to spend an hour and a half with someone I don't know?
It takes like 10 minutes.
Yeah, little did I know it was like a 10-minute endeavor.
Yeah.
But I also like I was thinking about it, and I was like, I was gonna do a sports show freshman year, just yapping about basketball, and then I was like, I don't even sometimes like my I was so busy that like I couldn't even sit down and watch basketball games. So I was like, I can't even really yap about that. So I just kind of didn't, and then I went on the show and I really enjoyed it. So I started Music on Mars. I think the best thing about Music on Mars is that I've had to broaden my music interests, because I've always said that I love all kinds of music except for country. But I didn't go out of my way to listen to other genres other than rap and hip hop, and that kind of changed because gotta play clean music. I don't listen to a lot of clean music, or I didn't at the time. So like, and I also found it as a creative way to connect music to other things as well. Like some of my themes have been like movie scores, where I can be like, here's, Can't Fight City Halloween from the Batman, love this movie, and then I can yap about the movie for 5 minutes. I can say, oh, like, here's Love Fool by the Cardigans, one of my favorite scenes in The Office, and talk about that. So it's been awesome to connect music with other things and be able to talk about it. And that's the other thing. Like, there's days where like my motivation to talk on the radio is like so low, and then I can just go in and just play music. I don't even have to worry about talking too much. I can talk as much as I want, as little as I want.
Yeah.
And it's become less structured as I've gone along. I used to have like a little script for like intro, outro, and now it's just kind of like follow the socials.
You always say hello Martians, which I think is really cute.
That's the only bit that's remained intact. Because I thought of the name Music on Mars because I was really into Kid Cudi at the end of freshman year. Like a lot of Man on the Moon. Ghost is a fantastic song. That was probably one of my most played songs freshman year. And I just kind of like the whole like I'm the man on the moon, and I was like, okay, how can I like play with that a little bit?
And you also like Bruno Mars.
And I also like Bruno Mars.
As do I.
But it was more Cudi, so I ended up having I love alliteration. This is gonna be the silliest thing I say on this podcast. I love alliteration, and a lot of that's because of Fortnite. All the little it's silly, it's stupid, but like Anarchy Acres, it goes hard, Hazy Hillside.
I thought of Moo Moo
Hard.
Meadows, which is
So
in
that's-
Fortnite.
I mean, you need
That's
something to
Mario.
hit the gritty too.
But yeah, exactly, exactly. I can't play that song on the radio, but but yeah. So came up with the name, and honestly, like, it kind of sparked a little. I guess Music of Mars is in some way responsible for me being a graphic designer, because I had to make a logo and branding, and I learned how to use Illustrator to do that. And from there, like then I took the class, and then now I'm here as graphic designer. But
and now we have a show together.
And I was gonna say, I have absolutely fallen in love with doing Ringside Radio for sure.
I'm not even sure how that came about. I mean, so I'm a huge wrestling fan. I have been since I was a kid. The story that I always tell people is I used to have like my religious ed classes at someone's house because like you could do that where like the mom would teach and then you'd like all eat pizza. And they always had wrestling action figures and I would always want to play with them and they like wouldn't let me play with them and I was like, shut up, like give me Batista, like what are you doing? So I loved it. Like when I was a kid, I have like these core memories of watching the Daniel Bryan monster video package from WrestleMania however many years ago, like in my room on my tiny like Samsung Galaxy phone. So I've always loved it, and then I really got back into it in 2019, like right before Mania 35, which is very convenient because it was in New Jersey that year. It was at MetLife. So my mom and I went to WrestleMania Access that year, which is like the big fan convention that they have, and that was one of like the coolest days ever. If you ask my mom about it, she'd probably be like, we walked around a lot and my feet hurt, which is true. But I got to meet Finn Balor, who's my favorite wrestler ever. I got to meet him there. We got donuts. I remember I got like some cool merch there. I took a lot of cool pictures. They had the New Day's big cereal box that they did their entrance with, so I got to take a picture with that prop, which was cool.
The Bootios?
Yeah. Have I never shown you that picture? I'll show you that picture when we're done. And so that season of like the Royal Rumble 2019 to WrestleMania 2019 really got me to fall back in love with it, especially because like a lot of the wrestlers that I was watching as a kid were there, but it was also like I didn't know who the 4 Horsewomen were, and like I really like Sasha Banks is one of my favorites. Charlotte Flair is probably my favorite women's wrestler ever, and that was the year that obviously like Becky Lynch, first women's main event, won both belts. So I think I got back into it at a really, really good time. And I was watching it religiously every week. Like, you could not talk to me after 8 p.m. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Like, it was it. I got to go to some live shows with my mom, with my grandma. I went to some by myself. So I've seen some really cool things in person. I got to meet Kofi Kingston when I was in Toronto for SummerSlam, which was really, really awesome. So it's something that I've really fallen back in love with over the past couple of years. And about a year ago, I think I wanted to watch the Royal Rumble. Our friend Clever, who we all know is also very into wrestling, so I had invited him over. Our friend Ben is also very into wrestling, so I'd invited all of them over, and I basically said to Connor, like, do you want to watch with us? And I think your knowledge was, like, similar to mine before 2019 of, like, you enjoyed it as a kid, but you hadn't gotten back into it.
Yeah.
Is that accurate?
I can talk about my little road to
Yeah, so I mean, all I was going to say is
Yeah.
we watched the Rumble with Connor, we watched Mania with Connor, and then he was hooked. Again.
Yeah, and now I've become the like Monday, Friday after 8. Don't even try. I'm in class for NXT now, which sucks. But yeah, when I was growing up, I was the kid with the whole ring that cost a lot of money, and then like, all the action figures.
Yep,
I remember
I had that too. Yep.
I remember because it was the coolest thing to have. Like
Yeah.
you were just on top of the world, and then you like show and tell came around. You're like, listen, you have your little scarf. Don't care. Here's my Nexus Justin Gabriel action figure. Like I'm better than you.
I always like go in the class like the John Cena t-shirts.
Yeah.
Back in like second grade.
Because it was just the coolest thing. And then yeah, I remember John Cena was my favorite at the time. I loved Batista as well. Their I Quit match, in like 2010, something like that, was like my favorite match growing up as a kid. I'll never forget Batista going like, I quit, and John Cena's going, don't care, and giving him an AA like off a car through the ramp. Like what even was happening? I don't know, but like 8-year-old me thought that was literally the greatest thing I've ever seen.
Cinema.
And then I loved Rey Mysterio. I had like Miz action figures, but I hated the Miz. Like I got it specifically so I could have my other action figures beat him up. But then my brother told me that, because I really bonded with my brother over wrestling. We had all the video games and we would all play them.
Your brother Shawn Michael.
My brother Shawn Michael.
Really?
So yeah, my mom hates, or at least my mom used to hate wrestling when we were growing up, because like, and she was right. It was like a bad influence. Like, in
Don't try this at home.
yeah, but then some kid took my spot on the bus one day, and I was like, gonna give you an RKO. My mom was like, yeah, you're not playing SmackDown vs. Raw 2010 now.
I
was
thought
like,
you said
okay.
you were gonna Batista bomb him.
Or that one. I think I might have said both. I don't know. But like, so she was right in it being a bad influence. But yeah, my mom wasn't a big fan of wrestling, and just so happened to give my brother the name of the most famous wrestler at the time. So he really loved HBK and Edge, and I was a huge Cena Rey Mysterio guy. But my brother told me that wrestling was fake, and that was when you're 11 hearing that,
Devastating.
like, God is dead. Like there's no like reason worth living anymore. So I stopped watching it entirely, because then it kind of had this effect of like, you're a loser if you watch that. You know, you're a nerd. Which obviously you're 11. So I stopped watching entirely, and then Jen started talking about, like, when Jen was into wrestling, I was like, wait, this is like grown-ups are into wrestling? I was like, wait,
Yeah.
they're like, this is the thing that like people still enjoy past age 10. And
I think especially as like communications majors, like you really look into the storytelling and the nuance of it, and especially being people who like movies and film, like the packages and the way that the matches are produced. Like, I don't know, when I tell people I watch wrestling, they're like, really? Like, isn't that like for kids? Isn't it fake? But I think there's so much, like, if you're into production and storytelling, like there's so much that you can get out of it.
And that's kind of how I describe it to people that don't see the point of it.
Yeah, it's like theater with buff people.
Literally.
Yeah, that's actually fantastic way to describe it. But I'm like, do you remember watching that Super Bowl and the Rams scored like 3 points against was it the Patriots Rams?
Yes.
And Brady won, and it was like 10-3. Everyone hated watching that game, one of the worst Super Bowls of all time. And I'm like, okay, imagine that, but it was scripted to be the most beautiful game of football you've ever seen in your life. Like, that's kind of what wrestling is. It's like sports entertainment, like
a soap opera.
At the end of the day, like, those rings are hard.
Oh
you fall on your back, you fall through tables. It's still physically grueling.
Oh yeah.
If people saw the Iron Claw, that movie, and you see the physical toll it took on the Von Erich family, both physically and mentally. It's not just acting.
I have so much respect for anybody who does it.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
My bucket list is to do it. I will, like, when I'm like 31 or whatever.
31.
Because I found out, I was reading the Bella's Wikipedia page, because I was just like, what did they do after WWE? And it was like they wrestled their first indie show ever in Newburgh, New York, which is my hometown. And I'm like, wait, there's an independent wrestling company in Newburgh, New York?
And his new dream was born.
Yeah. But no, when once I started watching like the Rumble, that little kid came out of me again, and I was like, wait, this is like really fun. Like, I'm really enjoying this.
And then we went to our first live show before Mania, right?
Yes, and
we went around Christmas.
And it's the funniest thing, because I took like a whole bunch of videos, and like there was a ladder match for the Intercontinental Championship. So I'm watching Gunther, like Santos Escobar, and Sheamus, and I'm like, oh, okay, Sheamus. I had his action figure. I like Sheamus, and Kofi came out, and Kofi's one of my favorites of all time. Probably my top 3. And I was like a giddy little kid. I was like, no way, it's Kofi. Oh, he's not Jamaican anymore. Okay. Like, but I'm taking videos of Kofi the whole time, and I'm not even realizing, like, Gunther, who's one of the best wrestlers in the world, like, is right there. Like, it's really funny to look back on. But
that show was really special too, because we got to see Bray Wyatt in person.
And I was like, who is this guy? And I feel bad because I didn't get to like enjoy it really. But
that was really, really awesome. So we went to that together. And then we went to a Road to WrestleMania show at MSG together, which was also really, really fun. I'd met Charlotte Flair the day before. My mom and I went to like a meet and greet.
Nice.
And then the next day I got a WWE teddy bear named it Charlotte Bear. That's like my core memory
you did do
from
that
day. But we got to see Cody in person for the first time, which was really, really cool to have that together. And then watched WrestleMania together back here, and now we're in it. We record our first ringside radio of the semester later tonight. So we're going to talk about the Rumble, and then the two of us and Ben have started working on predictions for the WrestleMania card.
We have.
And we're going to talk
We're very
about
excited about that.
So
I also prepared Deal or No Deal, which I'm also excited for.
I am excited about that. So I realized the question was about WQAQ and it became about wrestling, but yeah, we basically were just like...
I mean, I was going to ask you guys about it anyway, so we covered it.
Yeah, I mean, we basically were just like, we both love wrestling, we love talking about it, and I've had a lot of fun, like, creating this brand, and like he does such a great job with the graphics, and we all predict what we think is going to happen at each pay-per-view, and whoever wins gets a toy SmackDown Women's Championship belt that I bought. So that's
It doesn't fit around my waist. I'm too big for it.
fits around mine.
But yeah, no, that's something we started at.
Backlash?
We started it at Mania, and the card got lost.
Yeah.
I think I deleted whatever doc it
did?
was on.
Mm.
But we started at Mania. I think we actually started at the Rumble because we all put Cody as a winner for the men's Rumble.
Okay. I
But
trust you.
Mania and Rumble got lost completely.
Yeah.
But it was like a fun little thing. And then at Backlash, I made an official doc, and now we have all of our like records on it. I have records, win
it's fun to
percentage.
keep track of. Yeah.
Like I have it like a Wikipedia. Like you can look at the reigns and what number they are and how many days it is. Clever's kind of a Royal Rumble merchant because that November to January PLE gap carrying his reign.
Yes.
But so he's coming up on my 90-day record. But yeah, no, it's been super fun to do
It's
like
really fun.
like
yeah.
bits like that. And just to talk about wrestling because like wrestling's one of those things where if you're yapping about it to someone who does not care,
You feel awful.
you feel like you get post yap clarity and you're like, wow, I feel like a terrible human being. So getting to kind of, and that's how, honestly, in general, my favorite thing about WQQ is like just talking into the void.
Just
like-
info dumping.
I don't care if I have 0 listeners right now. Just let me yap into the void for an hour,
Yeah.
2 hours. And
It's therapeutic.
yeah,
Exactly,
yeah,
exactly.
Literally. So,
So it's a lot of
but
fun.
yeah, it's also been fun looking back at old matches that like, I didn't see. Like I watched. She said her favorite wrestler was Finn, and I was like, okay, let me look him up. And then I fell in love with Finn. I fell in love with the Demon character because as someone who I like to think I'm creative, I can really respect and admire like the creativity that goes into creating something like that. And his matches are just spectacular. And then finding CM Punk again, because when I stopped watching wrestling, he was probably doing Straight Edge Society. But I was also, when I was a kid, I couldn't really like watch weekly because it was my bedtime. And I couldn't really buy the pay-per-views because like my brother would ask my mom would be like, no. So I kind of got all my stuff from video games and like Internet Explorer. So I wasn't really familiar with Punk, and then finding him recently, like when I first got into wrestling, watching his old matches, knowing him as a person is like, he's just such a good dude. That's been awesome. And he's easily become my favorite of all time. So that's been a lot of fun. Now he's back in WWE and injured, sadly, but
We got to see him in person. We went to the NXT takeover that was in
Yes.
Bridgeport, and he came out, which was really cool. We went to an AEW show at Mohegan Sun together Halloween weekend, which was really fun. So
for Mr. Adam Copeland, but he was not there, but that's okay.
well, we got to see Kenny Omega versus MJF, so I think
Yeah,
we're fine.
and we did see we saw Edge's second to last match in WWE in Grayson Waller's first match on the main roster in the same little night. So that was cool.
Crazy 'cause, I mean, I actually went to the Raw where Edge first retired.
Really?
No
Bridgeport.
way.
Yeah, I was there.
No way.
That is awesome.
I can still remember
I mean,
on
it's
the
not awesome.
screen when
but-
it said, like it was like Edge retiring question mark, and little
Yeah.
kid in me was like,
No way.
and then he came out. He was in like the leather jacket and stuff, and he was explaining how the neck injury and
That's iconic.
he
That
was
is-
kind of reflecting on his career.
Oh my
And even at
God.
the time, I was like, he'll come back.
Yeah.
And then years down the line, of course, he did, and he had his little epic run. Now he's in Percy Jackson.
Yes, he is.
I have to catch up. The finale came out last night.
You
I have to catch up badly, or I think it's tonight or last night.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, and also
what's up?
No
Okay,
spoilers.
okay.
last night.
I gotta catch up.
And even in regards to CM Punk, his storyline, I remember with John Cena over the
Oh.
pipe bomb.
Yep.
That's still
Yeah.
probably my favorite wrestling storyline
Yeah.
that I can recall. That was just so epic, and when he won at SummerSlam and ran off,
Yeah.
that was so epic.
It's that summer of Punk is so fun to look back on because he's such a great performer.
The best in the
that's-
world.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Like I think about dudes like Ricochet, where I'm like, pure talent wise, this dude has everything to be an absolute star.
He's one of my favorites
But
personally.
yeah, I love watching him, but he doesn't have necessarily the charisma or the storylines to really put him in that spot.
Yeah.
And then you have guys like, I don't want to say LA Knight because I think LA Knight can wrestle a good amount, but I'm trying to think. I'll use him as an example, even though I think he's a great wrestler. due to have the charisma and can have the storylines, but are like kind of capped off in the ring. And CM Punk's this like combination of just like this fantastic storyteller with great ideas, and then just this fantastic wrestler. Like I found out a couple weeks ago that like it was his idea for the Shield. Like he just had Roman Reigns out of it, but
Is that crazy?
like that's insane. Like I don't know. I just think he's the best in the world.
There you go.
There you go.
And I'd like to ask you guys if you can disclose it, some of your WrestleMania predictions, but
Oh God.
I understand if you
well,
don't want
he's
to reveal.
I'll spill a few. I have a whole document
he's
with my
thought
stuff.
about it more than I have.
Ben, our good friend Ben, who's a guest on the show, has the order the matches are in on each night, the result, and the feuds that are going to stem from the match. I don't have all that.
I'm not all
but
that. I mean, I can say a few. I definitely think Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns is happening, and I hope and pray that Cody Rhodes wins this year because I cannot handle that again. I think, and then this is a little crazy, I think Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan might be the feud for WrestleMania because I feel like somebody needs to go for Rhea's belt, and like Liv was out for so long. Like I just feel like that would fit. I know a lot of people are saying Becky, but like I don't know. I feel like she already kind of had her big WrestleMania moment, and Liv hasn't really had that. So I think that would be cool for her. I do think the Damage Control implosion is loading. I think it'll be Bayley and Io at Mania. And then
main eventing night one, by the way.
I mean, CM Punk and Seth Rollins were a lock before Punk got injured. So I have to kind of think about what I think is going to happen with that belt. But as far as the championships, that's what I think it's going to
I'll give
like.
my juiciest prediction.
Okay, lay it on me.
My Seth replacement match is Seth versus Drew McIntyre.
I knew you were going to say that.
Versus Sami Zayn.
Ooh!
Because I like the idea that Drew is so desperate for this thing that like he's just gonna keep doing it till he wins it. And like looking at the Raw roster, like who else is on the roster that I really want to see have a title chance that hasn't got one already? Sami Zayn and Seth had a match that was really, really good on Raw, but I can see it being a triple threat. And I like aggressive Sami, like when he's backstage angry and whatnot. Like I don't know. I like aggressive Sami.
That's a cool way to make that match feel new because you have run back Seth and Drew like so many times.
But adding in the Sami component where you're like, okay, Seth and Drew's the main feud here, and Drew's super angry and Seth's super angry at Drew. But then you have this third party of Sami who is still so dangerous to Seth and Drew, but is a believable winner in the match.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's a nice little cook up, but also I think Drew would win it until I think Damian will cash in at Mania. He's held it for so long
he
that
has to.
And I was trying to think about it. Like, if it is those three, if Seth wins and Damian tries to cash in, Sami and Drew have individually stopped him from cashing in before. So if he tries to cash in on Seth, they'll just stop him.
Yeah.
If he tries to cash in on Sami, Seth would likely stop it. And Drew, because he wants it for himself. But if Drew wins it, Seth and Sami don't care. Seth will probably be dead by the time the match is over. And Sami don't really have a dog in the fight.
If he can pull a heist of the century thing with Seth in the ring, that would be really
cool. And the end game for the World Heavyweight Championship, and maybe I'm in our little Finn delusion, is Damian Priest versus Finn Balor at Mania 41 for the championship main eventing. Like, it just like has to be the direction. Like, I love for Judgment Day to lose the tag belts, and then out of spite, Damian wins the World Heavyweight Championship to like rub it in Finn's face.
Yeah,
I really like that. So that's my one little
cook up.
It would be nice to see for Finn because I've always felt like he's been kind of downplayed.
He's so underutilized.
Like from when he won the his first championship and then he got hurt.
Yeah.
I felt like he's just been sidelined ever since then.
I agree completely. And it really is unfortunate because we talked about like the Demon character. He is so creative and has so much depth. I mean, like character work and in ring. And I am biased because he's my favorite. but I during COVID, I did a lot of the like Zoom like meet and greets with WWE, which were really fun. And I got to do a few with Finn, so I got to talk to him, not to have a parasocial relationship, but I got to talk to him on my 18th birthday and also the week before I moved to college.
Oh,
and
nice.
he is just like the most genuine, nicest dude. And the like meet and greet that I did the week before I moved to college, I was like telling him, because you have like 2 full minutes with them in those, which was really cool, because in person you get like 15 seconds to get your picture and you're done. So one good thing from COVID. And I was talking to him and he was like, you're gonna have such a good time, you're gonna meet all these new people, see all these new places. And I said to him, I was like, yeah, you know, even if I hate it, like I have tickets for SmackDown at Madison Square Garden on September 10th. That was gonna be the first time I was coming home from college freshman year. And he was like, oh, at least you have that to look forward to, whatever. And then he came back as the demon at that SmackDown. And I was like, that was for me. So I have a lot of cool memories associated with him. He's been my favorite for a while. So I obviously want to see him have that success. And one of the times I met him in person was while he was IC champ and I got to hold the belt. And
Oh,
I like
wow.
went back and looked at the pictures and he only let little kids hold the belt. So I was like, I'm a champion.
And
Like
it was
I walked in and he was like,
It was that clean white belt design too.
so
the best one.
nice.
But no, I spent a day over break looking at old Finn matches, or Prince Devitt matches.
He's just so talented.
Because, yeah, because it's just like awesome to watch. Like, not okay. I'll put it this way: I'm really not happy with what they're doing with Finn right now. I like that he's holding a tag championship.
Yeah.
But I shouldn't want my favorite wrestler to lose a belt every time they have a match. Like, they faced DIY a couple days ago, and they won, and I was, like, mad. And I was like, how do you make me dislike my favorite wrestler, or one of my favorite wrestlers? So I was looking back at, like, him versus Okada, him versus Kenny Omega, him versus Kota Ibushi. Like,
His Japan matches are really
oh
great.
my, they're so good. And then I watched the trilogy with Samoa Joe, where he brought out the demon every single time. I was like, this is crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And he can do great heel work and face work, which I think is so rare.
Yeah, like watching the Bullet Club, like it's funny because you go on Cage Match. Shout out Tony Khan, and the under all of the Finn matches or Prince Devitt matches, the replies are like, Bullet Club was annoying, but it didn't bother me too much. 5-star match. Like, and it's like, okay, that's what heel work's supposed to do. I shouldn't be angry because I'm not enjoying what I'm watching. I should be like, oh, they get on my nerves. Like, you know, like Solo Sikoa the first time, you were like, no way, that's crazy. Oh no, Bloodline's still running things, and now you're just like, get off my television screen, please. Like, but yeah, no, Ringside's been a ton of fun. Also coming up with like super creative segments and stuff to do. Like, we love doing
theme songs.
I was gonna say we love drafting things.
Yeah.
And like fantasy booking things, which we gotta find an episode to do that soon.
To do
Fantasy book like something Seth on. I don't know.
Sure.
CM Punk's first thing back. That's our
Yeah.
classic. Like the first, like Randy came back and we were like, guys, fantasy book this.
But yeah, it's a lot of fun. We like doing it a lot.
Awesome. And kind of build upon that, I like to ask kind of like some job opportunities or interesting internships you've had because of the stuff that you've done in radio. 'Cause I know you guys have done some interesting things that you've already mentioned.
For sure. Well, I'm trying to see like my LinkedIn in my head right now. I would say since getting to college, I've gotten to do a lot more in the music industry. Music is ultimately where I want to end up, but I also love sports and have worked in sports. My freshman year, I got to intern at Epitaph Records remotely because they're in LA. But working there was really cool because they have a really diverse roster of artists, from like older artists, like they had Every Time I Die and I want to say like Bad Religion at the time where I was there, but they also had newer bands that I really liked, like Safe Face, which was really cool to work with. So I did tour marketing with them. I worked at an independent venue called LPR in New York City summer after my freshman year, doing marketing for them. And that was cool because that venue has so many different shows and so many different artists that tour there. So like I worked on a show that Gibby Haynes from the Butthole Surfers was doing. I worked on, I'm trying to think of what other things. Like I worked on a show that Lucy Dacus was doing at one of their partner venues from Boy Genius. So I got to work on like a lot of diverse different projects there. I interned at Big Picture Media last year. They're a PR firm that works with a lot of pop punk bands. I would say like Sum 41, Simple Plan, Newfound Glory are like some of the bigger ones they work with, which is really cool. And I mentioned earlier, I work with Universal Music Group right now, which is the coolest job that a 20-year-old can have. I do social and I do brand partnerships for them, and I love all aspects of my job. I get to be like really, really creative. I got to work with some of my favorite artists all the time, which is amazing. And this past summer, I interned at Live Nation in New York City, which was, again, one of the coolest jobs I've ever had. And I got to work on music festivals with them, which is like, I had never been to a music festival before they sent me to Govball over the summer, because they were like, I can't believe you've never been to a music festival. And I got to work on some really cool projects there. We worked with American Apparel to make like an activation for them at the Music Midtown Festival in Atlanta, which was one of my favorite things I've ever worked on. And I'm actually starting a new internship on Monday with a nonprofit called Headcount, and they register people to vote or help people check their voter registration at concerts, which I think is really cool because like music is inherently political, like no matter what, which is why it makes me giggle when people are like, Rage Against the Machine is so political, I'm not listening to them anymore. It's like, have you been listening the whole time? So I think that there is something inherently political and opinionated about music, and a lot of people use music as a vehicle for social justice and making their voices heard. So I got to work an event with Headcount last week at Toad's Place, which was really interesting. There was a concert there with a band called Meet Me at the Altar, and we were giving away a signed set list by the band for people who checked their voter registration. And I actually got to register somebody to vote at the concert, which is really, really cool. There was a girl, like, you ask people, oh, do you want to check your voter registration? And this girl was like, oh, I know I'm not registered to vote, I just turned 18. And I was like, do you want to be registered to vote? So I, like, got her a form, and I got to do that, and that was really cool. So, I mean, I've said since I was a kid, I didn't really know what job I wanted, but I knew I just wanted to be able to, like, help people in some way. And I always thought it was really impressive when somebody just, like, knew a lot about their job and what they do. Like, my mom and I are very touristy, and I remember specifically one trip we went to Vermont, and we went to the Vermont Teddy Bear Factory, and we went to the Ben & Jerry's factory in Vermont. And I was like, it is so cool that these people know so much about their niche thing, like teddy bears or ice cream or whatever it is, and they just get to tell people about it all day. And I was like, I just want that to be my job. And working in music kind of is that. You just become an expert on your artist or your label or your festival or whatever you work with, and you just try to get people to care about it. And when they do care, like when I got to see pictures of people enjoying the American Apparel experience that we put together for Music Midtown, like that stuff just makes me feel warm and fuzzy inside. And like getting to register somebody to vote made me feel very warm and fuzzy inside. So I've been really blessed and really lucky. I don't like to say people are lucky, because I'm like, you worked for it, that's not luck. But I do feel very lucky to have had all the experiences that I've had. And my mom always says she's very interested to see where I wind up after college. She's like, you're gonna get so many job offers. I'm like, I hope so. But yeah, I've gotten to have a lot of really, really cool experiences over the past few years. And not to bring it back to being mushy about Connor, but I'm very, very proud of what he's been getting to do lately with his new internship too, if he wants to talk about it.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
What a segue.
because I don't work in the music industry, it's like hard to make a connection of what QAQ does for me professionally. But I will say I'm one of the most socially awkward people that you never know socially awkward, if that makes sense. Like, once I know you and have an idea of you, or like I'm talking with you but I have like Jen or one of my friends with me, I'm fine. But one-on-one talking to a stranger, I'm so socially awkward, I just can't do it. I get so anxious and I just can't speak. And
Literally me.
yeah, like it's just, it's bad. But working, like doing the radio show, I've become way more, like, I don't know, way more not, like, understanding of things, like little things, like me saying I'm still terrible at it. I still do it like to exhaustion, but like I feel like I've been able to limit that in like when I'm thinking in like job interviews. I'm not just going so I just followed that up with saying but I think in that way, like job interviews, I've definitely become more comfortable just because I'm used to talking now. and I'm never a talker, and now I kind of am, which is a good thing. So I think WQQ's definitely helped me loosen up, like, just talking to people and whatnot, because kind of talking to nobody, which it's like practice almost. So, but yeah, I'm currently, like I said, doing graphic design at Slam, which is awesome because I didn't get, I applied in the fall and I didn't get it, but I had applied for, I remember she was like, what do you want to do? I was like, anything, because I was like still like not on the full like I'm done with journalism thing. I was leaning at social media, but I did graphic design on the side. So I was like, wherever you think you want to fit me, you can fit me in. And she was like, all right, I'm going to have you meet with XYZ team. And I was like, cool. And then it was like, okay, this team can't meet with you, but the editorial team can. And I was like, okay. And I really had a great interview, but I could tell that like, I don't want to write, and they know I don't want to write. So I didn't end up getting it. So when I reapplied, I had reached out to her first and been like, hey, I applied for the spring, but would love to like chat ahead of time, blah, blah, blah. And just getting loose socially. And we had a great chat, and she was like, what do you want to move forward in? And I was like, definitely graphic design this time. And then it was just smooth sailing from there. And it's been absolutely awesome because it's a lot of hours, and I don't care. Like, it is, I'm doing stuff that
You love it,
yeah, that I've dreamed of doing. Like, someone in our Sundance group chat, Josh took a picture of us in the calf, and there's me zoomed in on LeBron's hat, like cropping it out. But like literally, that's like what I do. Like that's what I've been doing for the past week is doing super fun assignments. Like one of W Slam is the women's basketball division of Slam, and they're awesome to work with. Because I was like, do you have any assignments for me? And she was just like, you can do whatever you want with this, but give me, it's a scenario, 7 seconds. It's like a multiple choice thing. People are going to comment their answer. And I was like, okay. And she let me have complete creative control. And I sent it back, and she was like, this is perfect. Like, no notes at all. Like, just, this is awesome.
And that already got posted. Like, I think it's
yeah,
awesome that they're already using your work in real life.
On Instagram.
That's incredible.
So that's been a lot of fun. But yeah, I think talking into even if it's like too technically nobody, I think it's helped me loosen up a little bit.
You're also doing really great work with the women's basketball team here.
That yeah.
Yeah,
I've been sending
I
some
gotta
recruit
hype you up because you won't talk about that.
No, because I don't know. I've been sending recruit graphics or graphics to recruits to basically like, look at how cool this poster is. You should come sign here, like, which has been fun because like, there's no like rules or anything. It's just kind of like, the assistant coach Jen Fay, who is so awesome, was literally like, do whatever you want. Like the last email she sent me was like, bullet points, and then like the last one was just like cook something up. I was like, okay. But yeah, so that's been a lot of fun. But honestly, a lot of graphic design I enjoy doing is also for WQQ. Like ringside has been so fun to mess around with and play with. And I just redid the logo, retouched the logo a little bit to make it a little cleaner. I'm gonna rebrand Music on Mars a little bit as well because let's just say that freshman year, first time using Illustrator logo is not holding up anymore. But yeah, so it's been a ton of fun bringing the graphics world into the music world, I guess.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's great. You both were able to take your passions and kind of sharpen them in college and then go find it in the real world.
Totally.
Both doing things that are special to both of you because I've heard of Slam. I think I follow them.
oh, that's
So I've
dope.
probably seen some of your work and just have never known it. That's
So
incredible to
awesome.
think.
Well,
and
if you ever see LeBron with a cleanly cropped hat, that was me.
that was you. Wow.
With a cleanly cropped
With a cleanly cropped
That's
hat
funny.
in the red. That was me.
I'll be on the lookout. And of course, Jen, you doing with music and
Yeah.
outreaching to people. That's something that's really special.
I love it. I love it so much.
And to kind of use that as a transition, I'd like to ask where your passion for music stems from.
Yeah, totally. I've been going to concerts for about 10 years. I had gone to a few with like my parents here and there, but the first concert I ever chose to go to was Big Time Rush at the Jones Beach Amphitheater. Victoria Justice opened for them, It was so much fun. I made a sign because Big Time Rush has a song called Cover Girl, and they would bring girls on stage for it. And my 10-year-old self, sitting in one of the last rows of the venue, was like, it's me. And I made this gigantic sign. I colored it in with crayons. It was for Carlos because he was always my favorite, because he wore a hockey helmet, and I loved
Shout
hockey.
out Carlos.
Well,
on the Hallmark Channel now, it's my guy.
He was not always my favorite. I went through a few phases, but he is the favorite. And in this big sign, and I was like jumping up and down with it, and the woman behind me was like, I can't see, and I was like, too bad. So I've always loved going to concerts with my mom, with my friends. Like, it's just been a really cool way for me to bond with people. And I really started going by myself, I would say, around the time I was 15. I think the first time I ever traveled for a concert by myself was when I went to see Lorde with my mom, and it was the night before my 15th birthday. And we were kind of like, okay, you're about to be 15, you're old enough, you can take the train by yourself. So I took the train to Jamaica, and I met my mom there, and then we went to Barclay Center together, and I had the time of my life. I mean, Lorde is just one of my favorite artists of all time, but her album Melodrama had just came out, which is one of my favorite albums of all time, and I just had the most amazing time, and it's just like very healing. Like, when you have songs that you really bond with and you use them to like get you through hard things, hearing them live is like so cathartic and therapeutic, and I love that. And I started going to more like punk, alternative, like hardcore shows when I was like 16 or 17, I would say. So like a lot of them were like local bands that I would become friends with, or I would like take the train into the city to see them. And I love that even more because the punk and hardcore is all about community. Like, there is no, especially in Connecticut, in New England, the Northeast, there is no, like, hardcore scene or hardcore community without the people that start the bands and go to the shows. And I've made so many friends from going to shows. I mean, we always, like, go out to the diner after, like, theater kids. So it's always been something that I've really, really enjoyed. And I never really considered music as a career until the pandemic happened, because I was sort of like, I'm just going to be a sports journalist. Journalist went out the window when I took one journalism class here, and like, I love the journalism department. I love all the professors. It is just simply not for me. But when I
had to write a reflection paper on the journalism program, and I basically wrote 3 pages on, this is lovely, not for me.
Yeah. But my junior year was spring 2020 when like everything happened. And I remember being like, oh, the sports world just like shut down completely. Like, that's terrifying. Like, what if that was my job? Not to say that music is like a stable industry, because it's not either. But the pandemic with sports going away for a long time got me to like get more into music. And I started just writing album reviews for a website that one of my friends had started. And then we were able to turn that website into a real print magazine. I made 2 of them while I was there in like 6 months, which was really, really cool. I got to like interview a bunch of bands that I really loved and put it into this physical product that I could hold, which was awesome. And yeah, I love music. I think the power that it has to like verbalize your emotions in a way that you can't, I think, is really cool. And yeah, I mean, it sort of goes back to what I said earlier, that I just wanted to know a lot about something I loved and get to share it with people. And that's literally what working in the music industry is. And I also love like being able to make connections within music to other fields. Like, one of my favorite things about doing brands for UMG is when I can find an artist and a brand that I think align perfectly, like that aha moment. Like, I work with this artist whose name is Dylan. She opened for Ed Sheeran over the summer, and she's super fun, like pop, rock. She's from the UK. She has a cool accent. And I found this small business called Dragon Denim on Instagram, and they make custom denim jackets. The girl who runs the business, Raina, who's amazing, she will cut out like the back paneling of a denim jacket and put like mesh or like a design, or she'll paint it. And I just thought that like it fit Dylan's brand perfectly. Like, I saw it and I just like had the vision. And we were able to, through my position at UMG, we were able to get Raina to make some pairs of custom jeans for Dylan, and she actually wore them on stage. Raina got to like deliver them to her at a show, and she wore them. And like seeing pictures of that, I was like, it's just so awesome, because you have this vision in your head of like, oh, this would be really cool, and that happens in real life, and it's really cool. So yeah, I love music. I love working in music. And something that's really important to me is like staying a fan even when you work in something. Like
Hmm.
I do go to a lot of concerts for work, but I still make sure that I go to shows for fun still, which is something that's really important to me, because I love the shows I go to for work and I love getting to network and all that, but like some of my favorite concerts of 2023 were like I went to go see Kim Petras in Boston, and I like splurged for the VIP package and met her, and it was like the best day ever. And like going to the Eras tour, like I just went like for fun with my best friend from home, and we dressed up and we had the best time. So I think just like not losing your inner fan in anything that you work in is so important. So I love music. I love being a fan of it. I love working in it. It's a really important part of my life.
Awesome. And I love the approach you're taking, kind of understanding the business of it all. I'm sure you going to a concert would be like me watching a movie when you think about like the presentation of it.
I
and how-
totally do.
And of course, like you're talking about Dylan, the way that she dresses, and I'm
Mhm.
sure like you see other artists and you think about like how is that expressing their brand or something like
Totally.
that.
Yeah, I am kind of insufferable with that stuff. But like even I was telling you guys in the car on the way over here, I went to Governor's Ball over the summer, Live Nation sent me, and I'm like paying attention to the graphics behind the artist now. I'm like, Ice Spice, her graphic the whole time was just her name on her backdrop, and I was like, this is so boring. But then like Kendrick Lamar was the headliner of Gov Ball, and his visuals were like insane, like on another level. So I do definitely pay attention. Also, like having worked at Live Nation, I pay attention to how venues run and what their VIP experiences are and their ticketing, and it's nerdy, but it's cool. And I think I am still able to shut off the work brain sometimes. But there are times where I'll be scrolling on TikTok and I'll be like, that would be a great TikTok. I should send that to my boss. We should make that. So it's all about balance, but I absolutely love it. And again, I feel very lucky to be getting to work in something that I love, because not everybody can say that.
And of course, it's always important to keep that like childhood
Yeah.
and the excitement and wonder about it. And I'm glad that you're still able to do that.
Totally.
But when we get to where we are now, you can't turn off
Yeah.
work brain.
Yeah, but the fangirl will never go away. That will always
Awesome.
stay.
And now I kind of want to turn it to you, Connor, and I kind of want to ask about some of your interests, like video games. I know you were talking about the Arkham series a lot, and of course sports, if you want to get into it.
Absolutely.
Get
So
into it.
my brother, this is the second me and my brother bonding over PlayStation 3. He would play the Arkham games like religiously, and I would always watch him play. And it's weird because like you don't remember everything from your childhood. I remember being obsessed with the Victor Zsasz Arkham City storyline because the phones would ring.
Yeah.
And like I'd be like, Sean, it's ringing there. It's ringing right there. You gotta pick it up. And he's like, I'm doing the other mission first. And I'm like, but no, like, so I remember though that was a core memory of my childhood, watching him play. And then, all of the 3-game package was available, for PlayStation 5 for like $8. I was like, all right, let me buy it. And then I tried to play Arkham Asylum, and I realized that I'm very dumb, because there's a thing where you have to remote control Batarang through the building, go out the other side through a cave, and I'm like, how do people just like get to this level and they're like, oh, I'm gonna do this? Like, no. And I just got tired of looking up YouTube tutorials, so I was like, you know what, I'm gonna watch a YouTuber play. So that's what I've been doing for lately. I've been watching him go through all the Arkham games, but my Arkham is Spider-Man. The Spider-Man PS4 game in 2018. It is my favorite game of all time because it's so difficult to create a game. Like I watched my brother play the Amazing Spider-Man 2 video game, and it's like just like not great. Like when you consider it was released around the same time as Arkham City, probably after Arkham City and before Arkham Knight, and you're just like the quality is
Yeah.
just bad. And then you get to this game, and the swinging is fantastic. The combat and the fighting is amazing.
Can I say something about Spider-Man?
Yeah.
We'll be in New York sometimes, like if we go do stuff in the city, and he'll be like, I swing through this in Spider-Man all the time.
Washington Square Park. I took a photo of it, and I was like, I was swinging through it in Spider-Man because I do. There's like a backpack under the bridge.
Yep.
Yeah.
We
that you gotta get.
we found Cornelia Street, the street that Taylor Swift named us
Oh,
long
in
after.
Spider-Man.
We found that in the Spider-Man game,
Yeah.
which is very fun.
But it's like you have this like great playing game combined with this tragic Spider-Man story that's so rooted in the character. One of my things with comic books and comic book media, like people will crap on Tom Holland's Spider-Man and be like, that's not the Spider-Man I grew up with. It's nothing like the comics. And I'm like, that's okay. Like it doesn't have to be a one-of-one adaptation. Like Raimi's, for the most part, is like, at least Spider-Man 1 is fairly one-to-one, and it's lovely. It's beautiful, but it opens the door for new adaptations as well. So, but that Spider-Man game being so faithful to the character, while introducing things like Miles Morales, who's from the Ultimate Universe in 2011, who's based on Donald Glover, which is really, really cool for me, being a Spider-Man fan and a Donald Glover fan. But yeah, so in terms of like my comic book nerd video game stuff, that's kind of, my brother introduced me to that, and then I've since ran with it. But sports games, I've had every 2K, Madden, NHL, and MLB since probably 2008. And I've just recently, now that I'm a broke college student, stopped buying them yearly. Which, like, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is on the cover for MLB, and I'm like, I want it. But also, if they don't, like, update the game, I'm not going to get it. WWE's now become that. Like, I'm going to buy that yearly.
And we have a lot of fun playing that one together. Like, the My GM mode, where you get to, like, book your own show every week, we will get, like, there's strategy involved.
Oh, yeah.
Like, we're like, okay, this person's gonna feud with this person, we're gonna put them in a tables match, and there's, like, we watch, like, you simulate, like, the show to see, like, the outcomes and what the fans thought, and we react like we were actually the bookers. Like, if we thought we could and something gets 1 star, like, we get mad. We're like, oh, what do we do now?
And, like, we'd have a notes app for when it get really complicated, like, just to
keeping track of all the
out.
feuds. And then the like story mode on the WWE games is also kind of fun. We made ourselves in the game. Like,
I've dedicated way too much time to making our friend group in the game. But, like, Spiegel's in the game. My roommate Jack Spiegel's in the game. Ben's in the game. Yeah. I gotta put Clever in the game, but he hasn't sent me a selfie to like face map him onto the game. But
and it's fun because you can, like, put yourself in the Rumble. Like, he was playing a Rumble the other day.
Oh my gosh!
You were playing as Pop,
I tried to simulate the Rumble, like, realistically. So I went through every participant and said, like, okay, here's who declared for the Rumble. Here's who's most likely in it. Here's maybe some surprises. And I accidentally, and I put myself as Punk, and made myself come out as, like, 5. And then I accidentally put myself in the Rumble.
Like,
so I had
Connor
to,
Youngberg comes out, and we're like,
so I had to eliminate myself, which was fun. But
those games are super fun.
But yeah, and then with NHL 24, NHL since freshman year, me and Spiegel, my roommate, have played together, like, a couple times a week. Like, it's been,
they have a Hall of Fame of players.
We have a Hall of Fame of players who reach certain stat points in certain games. I think Connor Hellbuck and Ilya Sorokin and Mitch Marner are this year's Hall of Famers. How do I know that off the top of my head?
That's kind of crazy.
But like, we play against each other. But this year, late last year and early this year, we've discovered playing with each other on the same team. So we started a franchise. We took over the Flames, moved them to Saskatoon, Canada, and we've just been playing with each other, which has been so fun. Like, it's literally introduced a whole new, like, childhood aspect to the game. But yeah, so I play all the sports games, but story games, like Spider-Man, I had to rush through the story of Spider-Man 2 because I was so busy last semester. But I was like, I feel like Cody Rhodes. I was like, I have to finish the story before my life can move on. But yeah, and then with sports, it's kind of just my family, humongous sports family. Like, my mom, I grew up knowing my mom half as my mother and half as Coach Mary, because if I called her mom during practice, I was running 3 laps.
I love your mom.
And my dad loves football, loves baseball a lot. So baseball was his big thing, and something we bonded over really early. I felt really bad when I had to quit baseball. But I quit baseball so I wouldn't get injured for basketball, and then I got injured playing basketball.
I was going to say,
really
and then
fun.
what happened?
Yeah. But yeah, so I also just grew up playing it, because also not to, I don't know, I'm not in the best shape now, and I haven't been in quite a while, but I was like 6 foot at 12. So, like, you have to play 3 sports when you're 6 foot at 12. So I was playing 4. And yeah, watching sports became a lot of fun. I told the Steelers thing on the way over here, but yeah, I just loved watching hard hit highlights on YouTube, and this Troy Polamalu dude was really murdering people, which I enjoyed. So
Jumping over the line of scrimmage.
yeah, that was my favorite thing that he did. I remember that. Oh no, this is Brian Dawkins. You know Brian Dawkins on the Eagles?
Oh, of course.
The Eagles legend. I remember he has this one play where this dude's had like a long rush, and he's rushing down the sideline. He's about to score, and Brian Dawkins out of nowhere like jumps up at him like this. And so I was playing D end, and I was like, you know what? Next time I'm just one-on-one. I'm just gonna jump at him like that. And it was a run play when the line got confused, so they went left and the running back went right, and I'm right on the right end. So I literally just this 6-foot dude in like D1, so I was like 12 years old. This little like tiny like 5-footer, and I literally just jumped at him like this because I was like I'm Troy jumping over the line. I'm B-Doc chasing down the dude. But yeah, so I fell in love with sports playing it, and then when I kept getting injured. I've had over 10 ankle sprains, and I think I've had 2 or 3 ankle fractures. And then I became in love with the statistics of it. That's where I fell in love with basketball the most, because I chose it as the only one I wanted to play. But even when I got injured, like I found myself watching every Thunder game. When we traded for Carmelo Anthony, I watched every game that year. I watched every single game, because I thought we were going to the chip, and we were not. But it's become like something I'm that's like taken over a lot of my life in a good way. And now doing graphics for Slam, like that's like just insane to me how like I had to sign an NDA. I know who's on the next 3 Slam covers. You don't. Like I don't know. It's cool stuff like that. But
it's been really cool for me because I grew up, and I told you on the way over here, Ryan, I grew up a big fan of baseball and hockey and not really other sports, and I've gotten to watch a lot more basketball with him, and like we've gotten to go to games at Barclays Center and MSG, and we went to the draft this summer, which was so much fun, and even just going to Quinnipiac basketball games here, we have a lot of fun doing. So it's been a really cool way for us to bond. And we also played basketball together at Reckwell and on the courts by Hill, which is really fun.
And you got me.
I'd love to see that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he's obviously better than me because he's a foot taller than me, but I got some skill.
Yeah. And you've also gotten me a lot into hockey.
Yeah.
Because I had kind of lost hockey in the shuffle, just because the basketball and hockey seasons basically coincide with each other.
It's exactly the same.
Like
yeah.
2 a T. So I can't find the time to watch hockey over basketball, but like I've definitely been doing that more lately. And like the 2016 Rangers, 2015 we played the Kings in the Stanley Cup. 2014. So from 2014 to 2016, I watched the playoffs religiously. I was a huge Rangers fan. And then we traded Callahan, and I was sad. Trade McDonough. I got sad.
Carl Hagelin.
I loved Carl Hagelin. You know, and my favorite Ranger of all time, Keith Yandel. He left, so which I can't explain that one, but.
And then you have me, where my favorite player got traded to the Rangers after that.
Yeah, there you go.
My favorite hockey player is Ryan Strome, who was on the Islanders for the longest time, and I was like, this is awful. My favorite player is on my least favorite team. And then he got traded to the Rangers when I was a sophomore in high school. I got so many notifications that my phone died. Like, everyone was like, this is for you. So,
See, that's the inverse of what happened to me in 2016, where Kevin Durant left for my least favorite team in the universe. But, but yeah, and also another little thing is when I was deciding my favorite sports teams, when I was in that range of like, okay, maybe I'm not just a New York sports fan, I made the rule that I cannot be a fan of the same team as my brother. Because that's half of what being a brother is arguing about sports. And he was Knicks, Yankees, Giants. So I was like, all right. But I don't want to go to the other New York teams. I don't want to be a Jets fan. I don't want to do the Nets. Well, they were still in New Jersey at the time when I was picking a team, which is crazy.
Well, Sean's a Mets fan now.
Yeah.
I thought you said Yankees.
Oh, I meant Mets. But, yeah, so I was like, all right, I'll be a Yankees fan because my dad's a Yankee fan. Troy Polamalu, fun dude. Let me be a Steelers fan. And then Kevin Durant was my favorite player. So I was like, let me be a Thunder fan. And then the Rangers, I just kind of gave up. I was like, you know what? We'll agree on one thing. That's fine.
And we've gone to one Rangers game together, and they got shut out.
We did.
It was on
but
our 1 year
we-
anniversary.
yeah.
We were so excited, and then they played like pee pee poo poo.
We're gonna find another game to go to this year, because now especially because the last Rangers jersey I bought was, I think it was Matt Zuccarello, but
Good choice.
and that was from and that's a medium. I'm not fitting in a medium, and then the one before that was Carl Hagelin, who, in the time between that jersey being bought and now, that man won a Stanley Cup with the Penguins. So like just a
You
whole
blessed him.
whole new career after I bought that jersey. So I needed a new one, and my Aunt Mary, thank you Aunt Mary and Uncle Scott, got me a Keandre Miller jersey. That's my favorite player, and I'm in love with that thing. So we got to go to a game
Yes.
so I can wear my jersey.
Sports are fun.
Sports are fun. Sports are fun. Sports are fun when they don't hate you. They've kind of hated me lately.
Yeah.
Which is fine.
But
But
sports are fun.
but sports are fun.
And it's great to know that we both share being a Steelers fan.
I had
Yeah,
no
I didn't
idea.
know that. I
The
didn't know
complex
that.
journey that is being a Steelers fan every year.
Oh my gosh. it's you know that meme where it's like the thing and it's like
We're so back.
We're so
it's
back,
over.
yeah.
We're so back. It's so Jover. Yeah.
It's literally- cuz it really is a roller coaster, because like even last year we were like 1-7 and you're like, yay, number 1 overall pick, and then you're like, wait, Mike Tomlin's our head coach, we're going to be 500 somehow.
Yep.
And then we were.
We were 9-8. Last year, we were, what was it, 7-4 at one point.
Yeah.
And then we were, 7-7 at the
Yeah,
other point, and then
yeah.
finished 10-7.
Yeah. And then the infamous Chase Claypool year where we were 11-0, 12-0.
Yeah.
I think it was 11-0 to start the year, and then we pulled a Steelers, which we've done it like 2 or 3 times now.
Just falling apart.
Where it's
December,
just
January.
that first quarter, we're down 21-zip, and then we outplay the team for the rest of the game, but it
And still
doesn't
lose.
matter. Like
Yep.
even against the Bills,
Mhm.
we went down 21-0, and then we outscored them the rest of the game. Like if we just didn't mess up at the start, we'd be fine.
Mm.
But also, Kenny Pickett's our quarterback, so, and Mitch Trubisky and Mason Rudolph,
My
who
condolences.
I never thought that I would be like, start Mason Rudolph, please.
Yeah.
There's my identity.
Yeah.
It's funny
Um,
how things change.
Yeah.
'Cause the NFL season, it's like, I feel like it's almost, I want to say it's almost too long, but it's longer than it feels.
I'll tell you what, it gets long when the season's bad.
Yeah.
This season, something's off. Something's just not right. Even like fantasy football, like
All the good players.
couldn't get a track. Like the weirdest thing. My brother had a fantasy football league for money, and there was 11 teams, and he was like, Connor, can you play? I'll pay your buy-in. Like
Mhm.
just we need someone to fill the spot. And I was like, gladly. My team at the start of the year was Geno Smith, who I drafted a little early, Nick Chubb, who I drafted at 3rd overall,
Pain.
Jalen Waddle, who I drafted like in the 2nd or 3rd round, Josh Jacobs, who I drafted in the 2nd round. Josh Jacobs sucked. Nick Chubb tore his ACL. Geno Smith was terrible. And Jalen Waddle, you'd think that being a second option to Tyreek Hill would be like good touches, but Tua was just like, Tyreek's double covered, let me throw it anyway. And it worked. So Jalen Waddle got nothing. So I had like in paper what should have been the worst fantasy football team of all time, and I made the championship and won $200. And it's like, what a weird year of football.
Mm.
Never let
Also,
them know
like-
your next move.
Like I don't know about you, I'm tired of the Chiefs winning, so I'm not gonna root for them. But like I'm not moved by the Niners. Like I don't really
Yeah.
care.
It stinks, especially with Detroit being so
Oh,
close.
so
24-7 and lose. It's just all around sad 'cause they've never been to a Super Bowl. They're always
Yeah.
bad, and they were in that spot, and kind of just those 4th down plays just really ended up costing them.
I love Dan Campbell so much. I don't know what was going on in that man's brain.
Yeah.
But you remember we were at Flanagan's at Sundance, and there was like the table of you, and there was like us, Sam Shaw, and Julia.
Mhm.
The football game was on, and I was like, "Who are we going for?" I was like, "See the Lions right there? The blue, go Lions."
Yeah. But you know what hasn't let us down is movies. And
Absolutely.
of course, we just went to Sundance. So I'd like to
Yay!
kind of ask you guys kind of just what you thought of your first experience there and any fun stories you'd like to share. And also to kind of explain it for anyone who might not be.
For
aware.
sure. Yeah. Well, I mean, we all went with Quinnipiac Film Society at Quinnipiac University.
I can also give an in-depth. For our PR class, we have to do a nonprofit. We have to pick a nonprofit organization to be our client. And when I got asked that question, the only thing I could think about was the Sundance Institute is a nonprofit organization dedicated to promoting young filmmaking. I was like, okay, I'll just do Sundance.
You
so
reciting the preview is crazy.
so I now
It's
have
like stuck in my head.
Yep.
so-
yeah, I now have the timeline stuck in my head. So
Yeah. But yeah, we went. It's obviously one of the biggest film festivals in the world in Park City, Utah. I haven't been in past years, neither has Connor, and one of my best friends that we've talked about already, Julia Maroli, is one of the presidents this year. And I started going to QFS late last year when she told me that she was probably gonna run for president. And I was like, oh, like, I want to support you in that. So we started going. We went to, like, the last couple, like, movie nights and meetings and stuff like that. And at the beginning of this year, I said to her, I was like, what if we just, like, went to Sundance and, like, hung out for a week and, like, watched movies? You know, obviously we're not film majors, but we're big film fans. So we got our applications in. We got accepted. And I think it was a really, really great group this year. I mean, granted, I knew you, Ryan. I obviously knew him. I knew Michaela and Ronnie and Julia and Ari. I knew, like, more of the upperclassmen. But there were a lot of first-year students that went this year, and I was like, oh, God, are they just going to think I'm old and washed up? But they didn't.
washed is crazy.
We had a really, really great group, and I think especially the first-year guys that were there, like Josh and Nick and Harry and Jack and Jacob are all, they're just such sweet kids, and they're so passionate. And I think, like, when a freshman class comes in, at the beginning of the year, you wonder, like, how involved are they going to be? Like, our class of first years in WQAQ is huge. Like, we had 20 first years sign up for a show this semester, and we have, like, 50, 60 shows, so total. So this freshman class is just, like, super involved and super passionate. And so it was really cool to get to experience that with all of them and get to know them better. Like, talk about stories. We tried to get Nick to meet Will Ferrell because that's his favorite actor. He touched his shoulder.
Yeah.
He was walking in and he was like, Mr. Farrell. So, like, that was cool. Getting to see a bunch of movies with Josh was really fun. He's so insightful and he's so passionate. Jack Igo is, like, again, just, like, the sweetest kid. Jacob, I'm glad that we can joke about his peanut allergy now because he'll be like, anything he eats, he'll be like, is there peanuts in it? So now it's just, like, a funny little bit, but he's so sweet. And I mean, like, Harry and I are, like, best friends now. Like, I talk to him all the time now that we've been back, and we're in the house, and I'm like, oh, like, who was in a film major on the trip? Like, me, Connor, Ryan, Sophia. Oh, I haven't even mentioned Sophia. She's so sweet, and she's so talented. Like, she does graphic design and film, and she's good at both, which just baffles me. But I was like, oh, me, Connor, Ryan, Sophia, like, who else is in a film major? And Harry was like, me. And I was like, theater? And he was like, no. And I was like, what on earth? And he's some sort of, like, biomedical health science something. And I was like, that's crazy. But yeah, it was really, really cool to just bond with that whole group. I loved that when we got home at the end of the day from seeing different movies, we would all just, like, sit in the living room and talk about what we saw throughout the day. And Nick Romo and Nick Bonanno would cook for everyone every night.
Yeah.
It was a really cool experience that I know I'll think about for a really, really, really long time. It was just amazing. And just, like, seeing a new place. Like, I never thought I'd ever go to Utah. So it was really cool to do that. If you want to talk about your experience, then we can get into the movies.
Okay. Well, I was gonna give a brief little.
Okay, give a brief.
Because I got into QFS late last year as well. Because I really didn't know much about it. I just knew that a couple of my old roommates did it and then didn't do it. I really didn't know anything about it. But other than the fact that Jen's roommates were in it, and they all, Julia came up to me and geez, I forget there's like 3 Julias there.
I live with 3 girls named Julia,
Yeah.
for context.
So Maroli came up to me and was like, hey, we're doing a mini production and we're trying to make, like, a spoof of a murder mystery. We know you love those because I do. Like, do you want to help out? And I was like, yeah. So we ended up making Spoons In, a Knives Out spoof, and I had to put on the Benoit Blanc accent for hours.
Detective Cornelius B. Welch.
Yeah, I tell you what, I think it's a difficult watch because I'm in it, but
It's funny. I'll send it to you.
Okay. But yeah, so I did that, and I was like, wait, I actually, like, thoroughly enjoy doing this. Let me join the club.
Because you wrote pretty much the whole thing.
Yeah, because me and I loved it because it was really just like, it felt like a writer's room with everyone bouncing ideas off of each other, and then me and Julia kind of taking those ideas and putting it onto into a script, and that was really awesome, and I really enjoyed it. And Julia had told me about the like production system and how you submit a script and make it made. And I was like, okay, I'm really interested in doing that. I want to do it in the fall. I didn't get around to it because my capstone for journalism was due the same day. So I was like, I'm so sorry. I said I would do this and I didn't do it. But I've got an idea for this next one, which I'm really excited about. But yeah, so QFest has been a lot of fun. But the trip itself, I obviously loved watching the movies. Like, I'll never forget that day we saw 4 in a row. And
That
there
was
were 4
crazy.
really good movies that I
Yeah.
enjoyed a lot. But also, I'll never forget the moments of us playing Drop Job, playing Jackbox games on the
Yeah.
couch, and just the camaraderie. It was lovely. And
We got really lucky with this group. This
yes,
year.
yes, I really feel like so many of us are gonna be friends just past the trip.
That's
and
the
just
thing. You get like 20 new friends.
yeah,
You know?
yeah, because we went to Australia as well last summer, and a lot of that group stayed connected as well, which has been
Yeah.
really awesome. So, and I feel like the same thing's happening here. So yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Oh, and we got some virtual movies too, because we did the Adobe student package. So we got 5 movies to watch at home, which I think it's really, really cool that they do that. We split the package, the in-person tickets, so we saw 5 movies together, and we saw more than 5 movies together, which was very expensive.
Oh yeah.
But it was cool to get to
Yeah.
watch some at home as well. So yeah, I'm trying to think of what my favorites were, because there were only a couple that we saw that I was like, I wasn't really feeling. But oh, can I say bad words, or should I bleep the title of the movie that I'm about to say?
You could say it. It's the title of a movie.
Yeah, because we saw My Old Ass, directed by Megan Park, and produced by Margot Robbie, and I was really, really excited for that one because Maisie Stella was in it, and I used to watch Lennon and Maisie on YouTube when I was a kid, and I was like, no way, she's an actress now. And I love Aubrey Plaza. Aubrey Plaza sat in the row behind us and bumped into my chair and apologized to me, and that was like the best moment of the trip.
Aubrey Plaza, notable star of the 2013 critically acclaimed film The To-Do List, by the way.
We also saw Clark Gregg, who was also on the to-do list.
Yes.
But yeah, I would say My Old Ass was probably my favorite movie. I love coming of age stories. Like 8th grade is one of my favorite movies of all time. So I really enjoyed that. Love Lies Bleeding was probably my second favorite because I love an unhinged girl time, and I love Kristen Stewart. Will and Harper was really, really great. The documentary about Will Ferrell and his friend who came out as trans later in life, that was really, really beautiful. And I think the one that I've talked about and thought about the most, which we discussed on the way over here, is I Saw the TV Glow. Because when we watched it, I was like, not that it was bad, but I was like, I just don't get it. Like, I definitely watched something, and it definitely had a story, but I just felt like it wasn't for me, and I didn't get it. And after reading more about how the writer-director is trans and how the story is supposed to be representative of, like, when you see a life that you want and you can't get it, because that can sort of apply to being transgender, but also applies to, like, these characters in this movie being so obsessed with this TV show that they, like, wanted to be in it. I thought that was really beautiful. So, and I think that's the cool thing about Sundance is, like, you can have stories that are just going to be universally loved. Like, everyone's going to love My Old Ass when they see it. Like, that one is just so heartwarming. But, like, A Different Man, we saw that. I didn't love it, but I know, like, there are going to be people who really love it. TV Glow, I know there are going to be people who really love it. So I think it's really cool that this place, and I mean, all film festivals exist for this purpose, but I think it's really cool that a place exists for, you know, weird, experimental, controversial stories like that. We watched Love Me online, and that movie was weird. And, like, you could only have that at a film festival, at a place like Sundance. We saw Real Pain online, which was really, really great. We watched Pony Boy, which was awesome. We watched As We Speak, the documentary, which was really great. So we keep saying we're so lucky on this podcast. I feel like we're just talking about all the cool things we get to. But we were very lucky to get to go and to get such a cool slate of movies.
But yeah, my favorite, I think, is I'm tied with Mild Ass and Hitman.
Hitman was
They were
so
good. Because Mild Ass is this fantastic comedy that just has spectacular writing, and just, like, the acting in it is so genuine that, like, you couldn't tell that it was I forget her name, but you couldn't tell that it was her first movie.
Yeah.
And it just felt so authentic. And then it becomes this, like, oh my god, like, insane existential story that has such good character moments and heartfelt dialogue, and to where Hitman is, like, it's just so silly. It's just so silly. Like, the story that is there is fantastic. Like, I think the plot is amazing. I think it's such a good idea. It's such a, like, hearing that the inspiration was from like a 2001 Texas Monthly article that Linklater and Powell just loved. It was really awesome, and I like that Glenn Powell.
Where they pull inspiration from.
Yeah, and it is just so funny, and people are gonna love that when it comes out, and I really hope that people watch that because I know like I'm not sure if they're doing straight to streaming or if it's gonna have a limited release, but like
I think that might do what they did with Glass Onion since it's Netflix.
Good, because that needs to be a movie experience in a theater of people laughing with you. It's
exactly.
Just, it's
that just elevates
so
the
awesome.
experience.
Totally.
Yeah, because like My Old Ass I'll definitely rewatch, but if Hitman's in theaters, I will go to the theaters and watch that again. That was spectacular.
I already told my friends who didn't go to Sundance, if you want to see Love Lies Bleeding when it comes out, I will go with you.
Legit.
Like that movie, it made me so anxious, but not in a bad way. And I'm not used to that. Like when I watch like a thriller or a horror movie, like sometimes I can get just too anxious and I don't like it. But that movie, I loved it so much. And it comes out March 8th. Like a lot of these are getting releases like super soon, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah. But Hitman I love just because it's so funny. And then like A Different Man is where like the film nerd in me really.
You love that one.
Because it's like, oh, that vintage grain look.
Like Joker, kind of.
In a way. Yeah, towards the end, definitely. But that first act where it's like, it was just really beautiful. And then it becomes this chaotic story that you travel through, which I enjoyed. But like the filmmaking itself, like, just the vintage grain look that it had.
The music was amazing.
I love that Schindberg used so many zooms. I love when the camera's moving. I just love when like, don't get me wrong, like set up your tripods, whatever. I love when the camera's moving though. It's just something that I've always really enjoyed looking at in watching in film. And then the score on top of that was absolutely beautiful.
Yeah.
And so that's one I'm gonna rewatch just because of how amazed I was at the filmmaking quality. And then you look at Aaron Schindberg's like other work, and it's like not a lot. I think he's directed 4 things, and that's including a short. And it's like, wow. So I'm really excited to see what he does in the future.
That was the beginning of our 4-movie bender.
Yes.
At Eccles Theater. We saw A Different Man at 9 a.m. We saw Rob Peace at noon. Hitman at like 4, and Will and Harper was at like 7.
Yeah.
What a lineup.
It was
all a lineup that was really enjoyable.
All great movies.
All great movies.
I'm not good with body horror and gore, so I did have to throw up a little bit after Different Man. But other than that, perfect day. Great time.
Yeah.
I think my favorite day movie-wise was we saw 10 Lives, the kids movie. But we saw that. We saw My Old Ass and Love Lies Bleeding all on the same day, and those were like 3 of my favorites. And we also, underrated part of the trip that I didn't get to talk about, as huge sports fans, we went to the premiere of the Sue Bird documentary, and we got to her and Megan Rapinoe sat in the row behind us, and just like seeing their reactions to their story. Like Megan was laughing at all of her own jokes. Like it was, that was a really, really cool experience. Getting to go to so many of the premieres was just amazing, and the Q&As after was. We're just so lucky to get to do that.
Winner was one of those movies. I saw a tweet the other day, and it was like, when you go to rate a film 5 stars on Letterboxd, and all your friends have it at like 3.
Yeah.
And I saw Winner was like 3.5 for everyone, and I was like, I absolutely loved it.
I loved Winner.
Yeah. It did. I took off half a star because it took away the Danny Ramirez rom-com. And I know it's based on a real story, and they couldn't put him back in, but Danny Ramirez I absolutely love.
And he was great in that movie.
He was fantastic in it. Their chemistry on screen was amazing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really enjoyed that movie as well. Sasquatch Sunset was an experience.
I was gonna say, are you gonna talk about your least favorite?
It was an experience because
I didn't get into this one, and I'm almost glad that I didn't.
Yeah, here's the thing. Beautiful. It looks beautiful. It's shot all in the wilderness, and it's just like some really great, beautiful shots. Sounds beautiful. Like just like the not like the dialogue, of course, because there is none. But like all of the filmmaking aspects, I understand, are very great. One of the worst movies I've ever seen. Like there is certainly an audience for it, and people will love and hate this movie when it comes out. I know I wrote my Letterboxd review, which has like a good amount of likes now, but I was like, this is the weirdest person you know's favorite movie. And then I click off of it, click on see who else reviewed it. Ari Menace, 4.5 stars. I was like, Ari, no. But yeah, it's definitely going to be a movie that people love or hate. I'm glad I watched it if that makes sense.
Mhm.
Like, I don't know, it gave me a lot of food for thought on like, I really struggled with rating it because I was like, it's so bad, but I understand that it's good,
Yeah.
but it was a whole thing. But yeah, so
That's how I felt about not a lot of the things that I saw, but I was like, I can recognize that this is a really great film, and I just kind of don't get it.
Mhm.
And that's like what I was saying earlier about like this is a place where like controversial, weird, experimental things can exist.
I saw the TV Glow definitely
Yeah.
didn't enjoy that.
I did want to mention we watched
But
Little
even though,
Death online. Did you go to see that? Yes, you did, Ryan. Because Ryan, you gave it like a good rating, and I was like,
did.
oh, maybe it'll be good. Did not enjoy.
Didn't
That's
enjoy.
I'm getting my letterbox clout from that movie. I have like 30 likes on my review of that. But I can't take the AI art seriously. That like hindered my enjoyment of it a lot. And
Same.
I thought it was interesting that they tried to do the two stories in one,
Mhm.
but I just felt like it fell flat a little bit. Like after the David Schwimmer part ended and the Dominic Fike part started, I just couldn't get back into it. But I enjoyed the dog. I like that the dog was present throughout the whole movie.
Mhm.
So those are my thoughts. We actually, if you would like to hear more, are the edition of the Quinnipiac
There you
Chronicle
go.
that came out today.
Mhm.
Connor and I wrote a little dual byline article reviewing some Sundance movies. So definitely some more thoughts there. But overall, just a really amazing experience, and I would love to go back one day because it was really awesome.
For sure.
Yeah. And I don't know if it's a hot take, but my favorite moments of the trip was just hanging around with everybody.
Yup.
Yeah.
Same.
And playing the Jackbox games
Yeah.
or going around Park City.
Yeah.
And the movies were almost like a bonus.
Right?
$30 per ticket bonus.
Ooh.
But
Yeah, even just waiting online together like made it so much fun to just be with
Yeah.
everybody. So I loved it. And it's like we have the first QFS meeting of the semester tonight, and it's like not that I wasn't excited to go, but it's like you're excited to go because you get to like
You
go
just see
see all your
everyone.
friends.
Yeah.
So
And now we have all these inside jokes and references.
Yeah.
Like, is that a Drive reference right there? Like, is that Drive?
yeah, it was amazing. It was definitely worth missing a few days of school.
yeah, getting to
For
meet
sure.
industry professionals. Like you got to ask Megan Park a question about music in the film, right?
That was so awesome.
If I
yeah.
recall correctly, yeah.
I was the first question at that Q&A, and the person who was running it was like, "We'll take one question." I was like, "Oh God, they're not going to pick me," and then they did. And yeah, because one of the artists that I work with at UMG, Leith Ross, one of their songs was used in the beginning of My Old Ass, and I was like, "Oh my God!" And Leith is Canadian, and I'm pretty sure Megan is Canadian, so she talked a little bit about that. And she also talked about how her husband did the score of the movie, which I think is so cool. And we sat for that movie in front of some of the cast, so the actors who played the little brothers in the movie were behind us. And I posted the video of me asking Megan a question. Megan reposted it and replied to me, which was very, very sweet. And the actor who played the youngest brother, his name is Carter, his account followed me and like DM'd me, and I looked and it was his parent like talking to me, and I was like, your child is so amazing in this movie, it's going to impact so many people. So that was really cool. It's cool to be up close and personal with them, not just for like celebrity clout reasons, but just because like making art is so vulnerable. Not to sound pretentious, but making art is so vulnerable, and like to experience that with the people who made it is really, really cool. So I'm very glad we got to go to so many premieres and meet so many filmmakers and stuff. Like we got to talk to Harper after we saw Will and Harper. Like we got to see her outside the theater, and that was a really special moment, I think, especially for Josh. So yeah, just
It is also crazy to be watching the movies and then like think of questions and then realize like, oh wait, I actually have an opportunity to like ask
them,
like we watched Lollapalooza, and they have this compilation of like every Lollapalooza ever, like the first 2 minutes, and it's Dog Days Are Over by Florence and the Machine. Love that song. And I was like, wonder what made him choose it. And then like, all right, Q&A session with everyone, and I was like, oh my God, wow.
Lala was, I know we haven't talked about it as much, it's not on Letterboxd because it's episodic, but the Lollapalooza documentary was very, very, very cool. That was the first showing that we went to while we were there, and it was awesome.
What's really funny is we watched that, and then 2 days later, the whole theater was emptying because it was the last showing. I went to the bathroom outside of the theater, so it was like way away from humanity, really. And while I'm making my way back, there's this one lady in front of me, and she just turns around and goes, "Come on, Perry," and then Perry Farrell like walks right by me, and I'm literally like, Perry Farrell.
Common experience seeing a Jane's Addiction member
Yeah,
on
yeah.
the way to the bathroom.
But yeah, just an awesome experience and so many moments in movies that I'll remember forever. So.
And the fact that Julia and Ari planned that is just
Yes.
crazy to me. Because she would be in the dorm like, I have to book the flights today. I have to do this today. So the fact that they all did that, like, as
Absolutely.
20-something-year-olds,
Huge
Very
shout out to them.
impressive. Yeah.
very impressive. So, yeah, I'm very glad we all got to go.
Yeah, and it even changes the way I kind of view movies in a lot of ways.
For
Like,
sure.
kind of coming here has, I don't want to say, it's kind of like just pulled back the curtains of movies in terms of how they're made, and kind of at the end of the day, people who make movies are literally just like us.
They're just like
Yeah.
us. Yeah.
And they want to interact with us too, and that's kind of what Sundance is for, and that's why it's so special.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And now I kind of like to transition to some kind of more personal questions, and I was curious is there anything that people might not know about you that you'd like to share here?
That's a good question. Well, my fun fact is always that I gave a TED Talk. I don't know if you know that.
I did not know that, no.
So that can be my thing. I mean, a lot of people knew it about me in high school because I didn't really do like clubs in high school, but I did the TED Ed Student Talks Club. So my sophomore year, I gave a TED Talk about how being a sports fan has impacted my life. Because sports was a big coping mechanism for me when my anxiety was really bad in high school. So I gave that at my high school. I got asked to give the talk again at like a district-wide event. And then TED does a weekend called TED Ed Weekend every year at their headquarters in New York City. And my advisor had asked if like we could go, like if a group of students from my high school could go like to attend. And they were basically like, we're not going to let you guys attend, but we want Jen to give her talk at this event. And I was one of 12 students picked from around the world. I was one of 2 picked from the United States. And I was the one to kick off the whole weekend. I was the first talk. So that was a really, really cool experience. I still talk to some of the other speakers that I met there. And that's always like my icebreaker fun fact in class. I'm like, I gave a TED Talk at TED headquarters.
Can I find that like on YouTube?
Yeah, it is on YouTube. There's multiple different versions of it just because I like polished it in between each time I gave it. But there's one on like the official TED channel that was the one that I gave in New York City.
Wow.
So yeah, that was a really, really cool experience in high school. And I think that also fueled like what I was saying earlier about I want to help people. Like after the first time that I gave the talk, I had to get to like the back of the room to give back my mic pack. And it took me like 10 minutes to get back to the booth because people just kept coming up to me and talking to me and thanking me. And I'll never ever forget a mom came up to me with her daughter and was like, she just also got diagnosed with generalized anxiety disorder, and I feel like I can understand her better now. And that just like, oh, that made me so happy. So that was a really cool thing I got to do, and it also has gotten me more comfortable with not only public speaking, but like public speaking about difficult topics, because like it's not easy to talk about having an anxiety disorder and having panic attacks and how you cope with it. So I was kind of like, if I can get on this global stage and talk to all these people about having panic attacks, like I can do anything. So that was a really cool thing that I got to do that not a lot of people in college might know about me.
Wow. Try to top that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Your turn.
legit. I don't even know really. Not that I don't do things. I was in a play when I was in
I was literally
8th grade.
just gonna
Like,
say
that's-
you want to talk about being a theater kid.
That's like. I feel like people know that, but did you know that?
I did not.
Okay, so
There
there
you
we
go.
go. In 8th grade, my mom was like, all right, so you're playing basketball and that's lovely, but you need 2 extracurriculars at a time. So you're either gonna play baseball or you're gonna do the play. And I was like, I had grown to hate playing baseball because I had a coach that kept putting me in the outfield where I'm just twiddling my thumbs for 9 innings. And I was like, all right, I'm done doing this. So I went to the play, and there was auditions, and I was like, you know what? Because you have to audition no matter what. Like, you can't, well, you could just join the ensemble, but my mom saw doing the play as auditioning for a part. And I was like, no, it's fine. I will do the audition. I will bomb the part entirely, and I'll just join the ensemble and background tap dance for a couple hours every week, whatever.
Little did you know.
Little did I know that I think I did a bad job faking it, because I I'll be honest, I haven't sang like I haven't done any singing for the purpose of sounding good in like since then, I guess. But I used to do chorus and everything. I used to have a really good singing voice. So, and I think she knew that beforehand. So even though I sounded bad at the audition, she knew I had done chorus before. So it didn't really matter that I bombed my audition. And the play was Anything Goes, which revolves around a love square. So there's 4 people, and it's kind of like you crisscross at the end, basically. And I got one of those 4 parts where I had to do an English accent the entire time, and I had a whole solo, and I had to do a salsa with my friend Hunter, and I was just like, "Are you kidding me?" Like I just wanted to tap dance in the back for fun, and the entire time, it was fun doing the play. Now looking back on it, at the time I was probably like, I really wish I was at home playing 2K12 or 2K16 or whatever. But no, I was in reality I was just hanging out with my friends for a couple hours a day, and singing songs in between, which is fine. But a week before the play, we had a little school dance, and when like the most lame thing you can do at a school dance at the time was actually dance at the school dance. So me and my friend went to like the corridor that led to outdoors, and I was holding one of those tiny water bottles, and I was like, Kieran, what if I just punted this into the graveyard across the street? Stupidest. I mean, like, who even thinks of that? How messed up you got to be, like, to think of that? Legit. Punted that thing, and then it landed a little short. So if a teacher came back and saw it, that I just punted one of the water bottles in the street, I'm gonna get in trouble. So I was like, all right. So I look back at him and I'm like, say I won't do it again. He was like, bet. And there's 2 flights of stairs, and being the ignorant jock that I was at the time, every time I had gotten to school for entirety of middle school, I would jump up the stairs 4 at a time because I could. And I would also jump down them. So first flight of stairs, jump down, fine. First one, was not fine. You know when you twist your ankle and you kind of move it to the side?
Yeah.
I went over, so messed it up really bad.
No tap dancing for you.
No tap dancing for me. So those specialty size 13 tap shoes I bought when I was 13 didn't really go to anything, but I go back up and I'm in pain. I'm telling Karen, it's broke, and he's dying laughing at me, which I would laugh too. So, but yeah, I'm like laid back in the chair, feet extended with the ice, and she's like, "Oh, that's terrible. Well, at least school's over soon. Like, you don't have anything going on, do you?" And I was like, "Oh, I have AU basketball." And I was averaging like 20 points and 20 rebounds. I was a dog. But I was like, that sucks, but, you know, nothing else. She was like, "Oh, yeah, you're not in the school play, right?" And I'm like, I am. I had completely forgotten about it. But thankfully, I was the old British man, so having a cane fit in my gimmick didn't hinder anything. So I'm putting all of my weight on this cane. I have an air cast in my high socks that is very visible, but had to do what I had to do. Yeah, did the whole thing. I found out escape routes before the dance sequences, so I couldn't be seen hobbling around. And my friend Hunter, I don't know how she dealt with me.
Hunter carried you.
Yeah, because they had to quite literally carry my entire weight during this salsa. It is because at one point we're choreographing it, and I can dance. All right, I got rhythm because you're athlete. You know that Dwayne Johnson movie.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. So,
yeah.
But my drama teacher was like, okay, what if at one point before you start the salsa, you throw the cane at me, I catch it, and then you do it normally. It's a whole big thing. And I'm like, so you're asking me to put all 170 pounds of my body weight on Hunter so that it looks cool with the cane throw? And she was like, yeah. So there's I have it on DVD and iPhone video.
Watch party.
Which I've debated. Me and Hunter are still friends, and so I've debated like having her over, getting Jen and getting Kieran to all come together and watch it.
We should.
But on DVD is me singing doing a whole solo and a salsa. But it was really, looking back on it, I really wish I didn't quit theater because I truly think I could have done more there.
You're like
but
Troy in High School Musical.
literally, like, it's like I don't want to do drama. I got basketball, and then that went nowhere. So
What
yeah.
could have been?
And then I watched, and I always like look back on it fondly. And then I watched Tick Tick Boom, and I was like, I love musicals. I was like, what did I do? Can I go back? But yeah, so I guess that's something not a lot of people know. I guess
It's a fun little story.
fun little story.
We
about.
can't go back, but we can go forward. So I'd like to ask you guys, what are some of your hopes and dreams professionally or in general?
Oh God. Well, I mean, graduate. That's in May. I hope I will make it. I will be fine. But yeah, I mean, definitely like finishing college. I definitely want a job that I love out of college. Doesn't have to be a perfect job. I understand that a lot of people try to get a perfect job right out of college. You don't gotta do all that. But I definitely just want a job that I love doing at a company that I love. I really would like to stay in the Northeast. I think like being traveling distance from a city like Boston or Philly or Manhattan, I think would be like ideally where I want to end up. We want to get a cat together, and he wants to name it Baja Blast.
It's a fantastic name.
I think that will be in my future, and yeah, I mean it's cheesy, but I just want to feel happy and fulfilled and nurture my friendships and relationships and just like be surrounded by as much love and positivity as possible because it's rough out there. So I think it's important to do things that you love with people you love and places you love. So that's kind of where my focus has been, honestly, since I've started college. And I've been able to really change my life a lot and just focus on myself and the things, people, and places that I love. So definitely want to keep doing that.
Yeah.
It's very cheesy, but
No, I mean I was gonna have a corny answer.
that's
as well.
the life, but
yeah.
I was gonna say corny answer as well. Just be happy. Like I just wanna, like, professionally, I'd love to work in graphic design in the sports industry or the wrestling industry, WWE. If you can hear me.
We want jobs.
We like jobs. In a perfect world, that's what happens. But I'd love to be a graphic designer for a sports team, and that can be college, that can be anything really. But I'd love to do that professionally. But most importantly, I wanna, like, it's so weird because I grew up hating the 9 to 5, like that kind of attitude. But now I kind of look at it and be like, okay. If I can work, 10 to 6, whatever, I can get home, I can have a lovely dinner, I can play Fortnite with my buddies, I can still watch wrestling pay-per-views on Saturdays.
Am
like,
I there?
Huh?
Am I playing Fortnite with you?
You can play. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. But yeah, like, almost like just keep doing the stuff that I want to do. I don't want any of my passions to get lost. I'd still love to write screenplays because that's a lovely thing about doing a screenplay or like writing in general. Is that you can just do it when you want, and if something comes up, you can submit it somewhere, and maybe it goes somewhere, maybe it doesn't. That's okay. Like my friend Kieran, who I mentioned a couple times, he's a lifeguard, and he's been working there for years, to the point where, like, right out of college, he'll get a promotion and he'll have a lovely paying job, but he has an English degree, so he can write stories on the side, and that's just like what he can do. And like I think that's awesome. I think my biggest thing is finding happiness, and that's a lovely job that I enjoy, but still finding ways to keep my passions alive and ways to find free time for myself, because that's pretty huge. So
I think something that's really important to both of us is just like remembering why you started doing something and remembering why you love it and not letting those things get lost to work or other priorities. So I think we're doing an okay job. But I get so overwhelmed sometimes during the semester, and I'm like, I haven't had time to like sit and watch a movie in like weeks. But I think we're both trying to like prioritize self-care and free time and hobbies and stuff, which is it's an inconvenient time to do that when you're about to start grad school. But I think we're doing okay.
Yeah, I'm trying to watch a movie a week at least.
We watched 500 Days of Summer the other day, which is one of my favorites.
but I'm also
Same
trying
here.
to I'm also trying to
So
read
good.
comic books once a week.
Mhm.
I'm currently going through Hawkeye's like
I do love reading.
tenure of from his first solo run 1981 to like his latest run, or I guess Kate Bishop's latest run. But trying to get one in a week, but also I'm gonna start working on that one screenplay I'm thinking about for QFS. So that'd be fun.
Awesome.
Yeah, just going with the flow.
Awesome. Very nice all around. And I'd like to kind of conclude this all by asking the question I ask every guest, which is, what are some of your favorite movies?
I'll
Pulling out the
start 'cause
Letterboxd
you got the whole
list.
thing. My favorite movie is Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. I think that Into the Spider-Verse is a better movie, but I watched that on Netflix on a car ride to Massachusetts for the first time, like 2 years after it came out. So I was very late to the party. To where Across the Spider-Verse, like we went to the city, and I was sitting next to Miles Morales cosplay in the
Really?
theater, and
We
I'm
saw
like,
it the night before it came out. We saw it on the
Yeah.
Thursday.
and experiencing that like was just incredible. Like that theater experience was amazing.
We got
Spoilers
the-
for Across the Spider-Verse, but I've mentioned how Donald Glover is one of my favorite
Oh yeah, yeah.
people, and he has a cameo, and I literally like the whole theater popped, and I'm like, oh my god, I'm not like, this isn't me watching on Netflix on my computer.
Yeah.
This is real, and this is something that everyone loves and enjoys.
We got the Spider-Man popcorn containers. I
Oh.
have like,
Yes,
the Spider-Gwen
mine's in my
one.
room.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
that was really fun.
that's my favorite one. Into the Spider-Verse probably be 2. Let my Letterboxd top 4. I don't want to have sequels or anything in there, so like I just pick one. But so it's probably those 2, and then there's Knives Out, which I love. My love of murder mystery came from Scooby-Doo, to be quite honest.
I thought you were gonna say Clue.
That in we were gonna get there. Oh, we were gonna get there.
My bad.
But yeah, when I look at the cast, and I was like, okay, Chris Evans I know from, because I wasn't super film bro-y when I which I don't think I'm super film bro-y now, but
Film enjoyment.
I hadn't seen many films outside of superhero films, so I was like, okay, I love Chris Evans as Captain America. Daniel Craig's in that, like he's James Bond and stuff, right? And then now when I rewatch it, I'm like, oh, Keith Stanfield, I love it. But yeah, so I watched that, and it changed my brain chemistry. I was like, oh my god, this is what
Great movie.
this is just, I love everything about this. And then my 4th favorite movie probably is Glass Onion, which it's just Ryan Johnson as a storyteller is,
Incredible.
he's my favorite writer director. I have to watch like his Star Wars film because I know people don't like that, so I want to see what the hubbub's about. But Poker Face on Peacock, one of my favorite television shows of all time. Me and my parents bond over that. We really love that with Natasha Lyonne. And then in my 5, Tick Tick Boom. Or no, the Batman.
Then Tick Tick Boom.
I describe the Batman as the Batman adaptation made for me.
Hmm.
I love Nolan's trilogy, but we get a lot of Playboy Bruce Wayne. I prefer more World's Greatest Detective Batman.
You like
and that's,
emo Batman?
I like emo Batman. Yeah. And it literally felt like it was made for me. Like I really love that kind of style, and also the filmmaking was just beautiful. It was 3 hours, and I've watched it like 10 times. I absolutely love that film.
It's endlessly rewatchable. Like,
Literally.
I don't think you feel the runtime of the Batman at all.
No, because that's the thing. Like shots stay around. That's one thing I noticed. Like shots will stay around for like too long, but it adds for the eeriness to me.
Yeah.
And then in my 6 would be Tick Tick Boom, which I've talked about. Andrew Garfield's one of my favorite actors. He is my favorite actor. And it's such a beautiful story. It is such a beautiful story. And the original music, the soundtrack is just phenomenal. I was like, you Hamilton people are so weird. And now I know every lyric to every song on that track. So that's probably my 6. 7 is Clue. Clue, I think if there was, and this is such a random thing to say, if there was a Spotify Wrapped for films you've seen in your life, not that like you logged on Letterboxd or anything, but like just straight up films you have watched, I would have watched Clue the most times, because my parents loved that film, and they showed me it when I was super young, and I remember being so confused by the multiple endings. And I watched it now, and I'm like, oh, I love this. But yeah, I showed it to her because I was like, you have to watch this because this changed my life.
I loved it.
And it's just so endlessly rewatchable.
We watched her on Halloween, which was fun.
Yeah, endlessly rewatchable, hilarious. The music's fun. It's just so good. And then I don't really know what other stragglers would make my
Well,
top 10. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles
I
Mutant
have
Mayhem.
your Letterboxd favorites list up, and you've gotten all of them correct, and you have 3 left.
Okay, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem's last. That's
Yes.
number 10.
Yes, it is.
So I'm looking for my 8 and my 9.
Yes.
Wow.
Do you want hints?
Yeah.
Okay. The one after Clue is a shorter movie. And
Oh, Guava Island
Yeah.
with Donald Glover.
I really like Guava Island.
Everything he makes and creates is what I love. Like, even his comedy special, it's my humor. I just feel like everything that he creates, I will be there to watch, and I will enjoy it just because our senses of humors are so similar. And I don't know, Guava Island was fantastic because
It's really, really
it
good.
has that film style that I like, that like vintage grain is like little
Mhm.
things. The story says something. It's sad, but it's funny at the same
Yeah.
time. It's truly beautiful. That's another one where like I'll go on, everyone's like 3 stars, 2.5, 3.5. I'm like 5. What's the other one I have on there?
I'll give you a hint.
Yeah,
Are you wired in?
Social Network. Okay, this one used to be my favorite movie of all time. When I came in freshman year, it was number 1 on my Letterboxd.
Very, very good.
Because Andrew Garfield won. Absolutely love him in that film, but also Fincher style is just beautiful. Like you said, I love Fincher, man, and a great film, great scenes, great acting. I mean, he's wired in.
He's wired in.
The flip flops line, like
Yeah.
everything is just beautiful from head to toe. So yeah, that's probably my top 10.
I'll speed through mine.
Sorry, I yapped a little bit.
Oh,
My
no,
bad.
that's-
My
It's okay.
apologies.
Fight Club is my favorite movie of all time. I watched it for the
Great
first
movie.
time in 2020, and I know it's a cliche answer, but I don't like it for the reasons that other people like it. I enjoy Fight Club in a different, more intellectual way. I just think it's a really cool commentary on like hypermasculinity, on consumerism, on identity. And the final shot of Fight Club is like my favorite shot from a film ever. I think I was telling you when we were in Sundance.
Mhm.
One of the first gifts he ever got me was a sweatshirt with the final frame of Fight Club on the back, and I love it. So that's my favorite movie ever. Coraline, I absolutely love. I've seen it in theaters twice. Like when they've re-released it, every time they re-release it, I will go. I just think it's a gorgeous looking movie, and it's just like a comfort movie for me. This is a hot take, but Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness is one of my favorite movies, because Wanda, Scarlet Witch, was like one of my favorite characters growing up. I was her for Halloween multiple times. And when I saw that movie and it was just her like messing everybody up, I just love that. I mentioned 8th grade already. I love that movie. I have Five Nights at Freddy's in my list of favorites simply because I grew up loving those games, and seeing that movie, like, that was like an Avengers Endgame moment for me. Like, just seeing all that in theaters was really, really awesome.
I also refuse to let Twitter convince me that was like a bad movie, like an objectively terrible movie.
Objectively,
It was
like
fun.
fine.
It was fun.
I loved it.
I liked it.
Birds of Prey, the Harley Quinn movie.
So fun.
He showed me, and I became obsessed with it.
I was
loved
like,
it.
if you like Multiverse of Madness with Wanda messing stuff up, you gotta watch
Yeah.
Harley Quinn messing stuff
And
up.
I also just love Margot Robbie. I have Barbie
Yeah.
on my list too, which I would like to rewatch a few times before it is permanently in my list. But it was just one of those, like, I left the theater and I was like, that was the best thing I've ever seen. I have The Nightmare Before Christmas and Corpse Bride also on my list, just because I like a lot of those spooky kids movies like Coraline. Finding Nemo and Lilo and Stitch are my favorite Disney movies. And then I have a few at like the bottom of my list that are like, I don't quite know if they like make the favorite movies list, but they're there. I added My Old Ass and Love Lies Bleeding after Sundance. I want to rewatch them, but it's just, you get that feeling when you watch a movie for the first time. You're like, this might be one of my favorite movies ever.
My
It
Old
just
Ass
clicks,
and
yeah.
Hitman made
Yeah.
like we're literally like, I gotta rewatch it, but it's
Yeah.
looking like it's gonna be, they're both gonna make it.
And then a few others that I would want to rewatch before I solidified as like a favorite movie. Fantastic Mr. Fox. I watched as a kid, loved. I rewatched recently with him, and I loved it like just as much as I did when I was a kid.
I love Wes, man.
I watched Lady Bird for the first time this summer, and I very much started my Greta Gerwig obsession. I watched on a plane, so I would like it like in comfort and watch it in comfort, see how I like it. But I loved it. I mean, Saoirse Ronan's amazing. And then I added The Iron Claw to my favorites list, and I know I did just see it in theaters like a month ago. But again, it was one of those that just as I was watching it, I was like, this is beautiful. I mean, Zac Efron and Jeremy Allen White both have really, really, really strong performances in it. Also reviewed that for The Chronicle, which is out today. But yeah, so it's a little bit of a mixed bag. There's some spooky kids movies in there. There's some Disney movies in there. Lots of coming of age, dramedy type stuff. So I'm a little bit all over the place.
I'm excited to watch Iron Claw again.
Yeah, me
once
too.
it hits streaming somewhere.
Me too. Yeah, that was a fun thing to end on.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great to know because what someone's favorite movies are, it says a lot about them.
I agree.
So kind of before we wrap things up, did you guys have anything you'd like to add?
Ryan, what's your favorite movie?
I was thinking the same thing. thing.
No, the question's on me.
I can't believe I don't know this about you.
This is our podcast now, Ryan.
Yeah.
It's so I don't necessarily have a favorite movie, but the one I've watched the most would be The Dark Knight, I would say. But there's a few I love. Like
Solid.
I love The Place Beyond the Pines.
Great
okay.
movie.
You guys
Great
have seen
movie.
that.
What was your favorite Sundance movie?
My favorite Sundance movie was Hitman.
Yeah.
Goated.
Yeah.
It was just so much fun.
It was.
Yeah, a few other movies. Like I'm a huge Nolan fan.
Mm-hmm.
I love Nolan
Like
as well.
the
I gotta watch more Nolan.
Shawshank Redemption's up there as well. The second Blade Runner film is up there as well. Oh, La La Land. I don't know how I
Banger.
almost didn't mention
Banger.
that.
My roommate hates movies. Like he doesn't really enjoy like sitting down and watching a film for 2 hours. Loves La La Land. We both love La La Land.
I was gonna say the only movies we've really gotten him to sit down and watch are like La La Land, Inception. We watched No Hard Feelings with him because
Interesting.
we told him Jennifer Lawrence was in it, and he loves La La Land.
I'll say honorable mention for my top 10 is Memento.
That's
Memento
Because you
was
another one of my
so
mentioned
good.
Nolan. I
I was
love Memento.
this can be a funny little anecdote we can end with. I took understanding film my freshman year, as you do when you go to Quinnipiac, and we saw Memento in class, and I was like, oh my god, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen. I have to tell everyone about this movie. I come home, I tell him about it. I'm like, Con, we have to watch Memento. This is amazing. My mind's blown by it. Like, I still don't understand it. He understood the whole thing in the first watch. I was so mad at him. I was like, how did you...
You were falling asleep, and I like woke her up and was like, this is what's happening, right? And you were like, yeah.
I was like, what the heck? But I do love Memento. That's probably my favorite movie I watched in FDM 102. Because we, like, analyzed it all after, and I was like, what just happened? So,
also a Sundance movie, I think.
Yes. Yes,
'Cause
it is.
I
Yes, it
remember
was.
the pictures of Christopher Nolan and Guy
Yeah.
Pearce at Sundance, and I was like, oh my god, I didn't realize Memento was a Sundance
Yeah.
movie.
That's another really great one. I would rewatch that.
Awesome.
We love movies.
Yes.
Yes, we do.
Primary takeaway.
how we all met, basically. So that's a good thing
Just
to
in
end on.
Yeah, but just in general, I'd like to thank you guys for both coming on.
Thank you for having
Of
us.
course.
This was so much fun.
No, like legit, when I found out about the Zicast, I was like, this is something I have to be on.
We have
By the
to do
time
it.
I graduate, I have to be on the show.
I feel so
Yeah.
accomplished now.
Yeah.
I'm gonna send it to everyone I know.
This is going on a resume.
Absolutely.
Well, I know it's on mine. But yeah, just thank you guys for being great friends, for
Of
hanging at
course.
Sundance,
Absolutely.
and of course for watching the show and enjoying it and letting me know.
Of course.
Because Jen's let me know that she's a fan.
I'm a loyal listener. I listened to the whole Julia and
I
Ari
was gonna say
episode,
I listened to a good
all
amount of
2
that.
hours.
A real one.
Yes.
So that's all she wrote. This is Ryan Ziaks this is Ryan Ziaks with the Zicast, where everyone has a story. Signing off. Thank you for watching.
Yay.